There's a big one just there. Holy moly, that's big. Right up on that wash on the Spike 44. That's the deep runner, so just jamming into the rocks. You can see as I'm fishing it, it's a real slow retrieve. Kind of really careful with the rod tip. So as you feel the rock or the kelp, you just slow down and kind of lift your rod tip. That's the deep diving spike again, the EXDR. So there's an MR and an EXDR. This one will go down to probably a maximum of about 12 feet. And the MR is about half that, 6 feet. So using the deep one today, the washes. Working not too bad.
Can cooler. Keeps your drink upright, accident free, and icy cold.
There you go. You should see all the fun we're having behind the scenes here. Nicole, who has magically grown in the last 4 or 5 minutes. You may or may not be standing on a box there, co-hosting with me tonight. Nicole, been a big day. We've filmed a lot of stories in the last couple of days, and you edited most of them, but I'm going to take most of the credit for that tonight.
As you do. It's fine. I'm used to it.
We had the co-host last week, and I think it's good to have someone to bounce off. And to be honest, I'm pretty sick of my own voice. After a strong couple of weeks of live streaming, way mastering the ABT events, last people want to do is hear me here. They want to hear you because you were stuck into those mid-session updates, and man, we got nothing but positive feedback about those. The information coming in from the observers matched with that live estimated scoreboard at the BREAM Open and the real scoreboard on the BASS Open just gave you some good material to work with.
I mean, the observers we had, the BASS observers, the BREAM observers, I could not thank them enough. They did an amazing job of getting through all those video clips to us. They did mid-session updates with the anglers. They were interviewing the anglers on the water.
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it's a real team effort covering these Opens, and this is reflected in the time it's taken me to get the Australian BASS Open, the BREAM Open from Sydney highlights out. I've got a folder full of clips that is from about 15 different phones and cameras over 3 different days, and it's like the Matrix. I just see all these numbers going on the front. We're getting it together. I'm going to have it done hopefully before we go up to the BASS tournaments at the end of this week. So that's my timeline. I've got a bit of work to do, got some magazine stuff to do here, a little bit of insight into ABT Live. What happens when we go to our pre-recorded stories? Well, tonight I'm proofing magazine articles. There's an article right there about how Mark Healy dropped that monster bag at the Hawkesbury, and I'm just making sure that there's no typos in there and spelling mistakes that I've made. So we have a little bit of a look out at it. You will see that in the printed edition of Fishing Monthly, or Nicole, we send the digital copy to everyone in the ABT mailing list. So if you're a current financial member of ABT, you get early the digital copy of Fishing Monthly magazine and pre-access to all this stuff.
Yeah, about a week before people get it in their hands, you have it in your inbox.
That's right. So that's what happens in between the segments. We've been out for a few days. Done some real cool field trips this year. This week. Firstly, we went to Nomad the other day in their brand new stealth building up the north of Brisbane. Damon Olsen was a fountain of information, getting real technical on why some of the lures that we might use this weekend at the Nomad round of the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series are going to work really well. And the technical continued today when young Harry from Garmin came in.
Very true. You got out there because you used a lot of that Garmin tech to win the BREAM Australia and the BASS Open.
Yeah, I didn't use it much in the BASS, but had a lot of questions about people that are interested about setting up a live scope set on their boat. Harry said you can do it for around that $3,000 to $4,000 mark, and then you move up from there depending on how much screen you want. Harry goes through that with all of us tonight, and also shows us how to save and share the recordings on Active Captain, because There's nothing better than showing a picture of a big fish, if you haven't caught it, than how you lost it on livescope. And from the feedback I've got from everyone out in the land that consumes the media that we produce, man, there was a lot of interest in the forward view and that livescope, and it's cool to watch. It's cool to fish. It's cool to watch. I love it.
I love the fact too when you've got the right Garmin tech on your boat. There's no need to be holding phones and trying to screen record with glare and reflections. Like you can do it all, present it perfectly. So.
Are we going to have a shout out now for Maddie Langford? Because I saw Maddie, you had a great video of a yellowbelly chasing your ZX Blade until he got dizzy and took off. What are you doing filming that on your phone, mate? You got Active Captain. You can record that on your phone.
We know you have the right gear.
We asked Harry, and he told us. So, dobbed you in, mate. And so, Maddie, get onto that Active Captain. Show us some of those awesome screen recordings that you take when you're guiding on some of the Southeast Queensland impoundments like we're fishing this coming week. So, we also caught up with Tommy Wood. Now, it was the middle of America, which is a place where probably doesn't have great internet coverage, and it didn't.
It is out Alabama somewhere.
Yep, but we caught up with Tommy Wood. He has been, living the very embryonic version of the dream since we left him after the Classic. We caught up with him, and he gives us a bit of an update on who he's travelling with, what he's doing. It's important to remember tonight what open he's fishing next. Might have a prize to do with that, but great to catch up with Tommy Wood. And there's a way in the story that you guys can help him out if you want to, get one of his jerseys and contribute a few bucks to him staying out of the country. Now, anyone who's a barra or bass fisherman, you want Tommy to stay out of the country because it means you end up a place higher in all the events.
And bream fisherman.
And bream, that's right. Yeah, he won his first event as a non-boater in Malakuta that year. So just like we got rid of Carl and everyone's a place higher, let's get rid of Tommy. Everyone's a place higher as well.
We're all for supporting him.
On that technical theme of this week's show, we caught up with Rob from Maui Jim. Sunglasses are something we all use a lot, but we probably don't know everything about. Rob goes through the technology behind their HT lens, which is a high transmission lens, and I learned a lot listening to that story, but we've got him on tonight representing ABT's only sunglass sponsor, whose numbers are sort of going through the roof. Every event we go to, more and more people supporting the sponsors and using the Mauis. And of course, last but not least, we have
Mitch Petty from Rapala. It is the Rapala sponsored Boom Doom round of our 13 Bass Somerset round of our 13 Bass Pro Series coming up early next week.
During the week?
Yep. So Mitch Petty's in to talk through some of the Rapala baits anglers might want to have tied on for that one.
Oh, Mitch loves it because last year in Somerset he caught the biggest bass of the Open on the Rapala DT8. So he'll probably only mention that about 3 or 4 times tonight. So we've got that in the bag too. We've got competitions. We've got a couple of prizes. I've got some prizes here. There's a bag full of some atomic lures here for barra, mainly barra stuff. But who's to say you can't use them on dewies and flathead, etc. And I've made up a kit here of some of the Daiwa Bait Junkie plastics. There's a Sunline t-shirt in there, some scissors, a couple of Halco TB55 baits. We'll give the Bait Junkie pack away to our usual competition, and Luke Atkinson, you jumped the gun. Just because we say every week that we're going to give it to the Where Do You Live comment, we mightn't do that this week. With that in mind, tell us where you're watching from. And we will draw this at the end of the night. It can be either on the Facebook in the comments underneath or YouTube in the live chat. Nicole will pick these at the end of the session.
Nicole's doing a lot tonight.
Look, this is the technical theme. You're doing everything technical, and I'm doing the magazine proofing because you need a relaxed set of eyes over that to make it happen. But great prizes as usual on ABT Live. Now a big shout out as well. I watched my first Corey Goldie show, chewing the fat with the cap the other night, and mate, I loved it. He was very pro ABT, and I really enjoyed the show, Corey. So I'm going to watch more of those. I've been waiting for the one to come on this week. I haven't seen it yet. Don't know if it's weekly or monthly, but if you're watching there, stick your thing in the comments, mate, and give your show a plug, because ABT anglers will love talking to the guys that are on your show. You go into a lot of depth with them, and they probably have more access on your show than on this show because it's all live.
But not if you're driving Corey, because Corey's making the big trip up from Victoria to get to Boondooma for the weekend.
Yeah, stop in one of those rest stops, mate, and lock your doors, get that update up there. So, yes, anglers are converging from all over the joint. We're going to leave on Thursday because luckily, hey, for the first time in the year, there's a tournament that's only about 3 or 4 kilometres away. Yep, so we're enjoying that, not doing a 20-hour commute to the events, but that's what happens. We start down south when it's warm, we move up as the winter happens, and it's sort of a pattern that we like, and I think the anglers are going to like as well. looking forward to the events coming up. We've got a lot happening, and it starts to become a little bit Queensland-centric as the winter happens. In the BREAM side of things, Nicole, our next event is the Maui Jim event. Where?
Not in Queensland.
No, not in Queensland. Lake Macquarie.
Lake Macquarie in New South Wales.
Going to be a huge one too. How many are we up to for that?
Today, 42 full boats at the moment. We'll see that creep up as we get closer.
Now, if you want to be a non-boater in that, don't just think, oh, there's no boats at the moment. Just enter, get on the list, because we have got more boats entering that. I think we had 50-something boats at the Hawkesbury. I'm assuming we have at least that at the Lake Macquarie as well. So, so if we can't get you a spot, we give it back to you in entry credits or a full refund. Don't panic. We get most people a spot most of the time. But the BASS, it's really Queensland centric. The next two events are the Nomad round at Boondooma and the Rapala round at Somerset. We're on the road for another week.
Yeah, so mid-30s fields for both of those. We still got some non-boater spots too for Boondooma on the weekend. So if you're thinking about it, want to jump on the back of a boat, we've got some spots. Give us a call in the office. Kim will be more than happy to sort that out for you.
Now, the other news about from the non-boaters and the BASS events is Rapala have finally got their new shirts. So the promotion where if you wear a shirt at 2 days of the weigh-ins and win some Rapala cash. We did it with a hat earlier in the year because they didn't have the shirts, but they've got them now. They're going to have them out there. So every non-boater who's entered is going to get a $90 Rapala shirt.
It's the new design too.
I haven't seen it yet.
First ones to get them.
That's why they were looking at me funny when I was wearing a Nomad shirt. They're like, what's going on there? I said, naming sponsor. And they were cool with that. They're all about the industry getting together, running great tournaments for you guys. And you've entered the competition. I'm looking at my noteboard here. We've got some BREAM events. We've got some BASS events coming up. I've given you an update on the highlights. They're really complicated. I'm going to hopefully have them before we leave in another 48 hours. Hopefully they'll be finished. Hopefully they'll be finished before Daiwa's Pursuit Series that they filmed at both the BASS and the BREAM events.
Yes.
Daiwa's Pursuit Series is already out for the BASS. If you want to watch Braden Shoe whack 'em on day one and get a big donut on day two, that is the show for you. So it's on their YouTube channel, Daiwa Australia, if you want to watch that. Their BREAM one, I think, is going to be another few weeks until...
Well, they've got an excuse. The guys are on holidays at the moment.
They've got laptops. You can edit in Europe. So anyway, that's coming out too. So compared to 23 years ago when we started ABT, man, the media we get nowadays is pretty cool. Like, you used to have to wait till a magazine came out, or you had to go on the old discussion boards and the old websites that we had, which were pretty agricultural. Nowadays, half of the events we can see live scoreboards. So as a fishing consumer, we don't want you just watching Bassmaster, we want you watching ABT as well.
It definitely keeps us busy.
It does indeed. Let's go to our first story. Let's jump into one of the more technical stories we're doing tonight and talk to the guys out at Nomad Tackle in northern Brisbane.
What them sons of fish is up to now?
Fellas, I give you the Force Trolling Motor. It is the most powerful, the most efficient on the water.
Yep. Most powerful. We're really in trouble now.
And it's quiet, too. You can't swim here. What a dumb bass.
So here is the head honcho of Nomad Tackle, Damon Olsen. Damon, how many buildings is this for you? I remember you being down the road and then down the road. You started small and you're here.
Oh God, we started at home at Wavell Heights years ago. I remember we had tackle stacked up in our bathroom, had all sorts going on, and this is, I don't know, third or fourth now. I can't actually, third or fourth, somewhere in there. But anyway, we're here now, and it's a pretty awesome setup we've got here. Just moved in about a year ago.
From the front of the building, there's no signage. It all looks pretty stealth out there, but that belies the fact there's a lot of interesting stuff both domestically and internationally going on in here. Give us a bit of a rundown about that global side of your business. Every time I'm looking at American social media, there you are.
Yeah, we put a lot of effort into the US. We've got a lot of products that work really well. There's saltwater stuff, but also the freshwater stuff. So we've just launched in the freshwater market this year, really in March, and yeah, it's going really well. We've got lipless crankbaits, jerk baits, all sorts of stuff that we've kind of launched that have been developed over a lot of years. Using the test tank that we've got here before it was at this venue. But there's a lot of stuff, and it all starts here, testing it, drawing it. So it's been pretty cool this year to see stuff that we've worked on as an Australian company actually getting traction in the US in freshwater. So.
And I think that some of the names that you're associated with over there, guys watching this are going to know all about. So who do you work with in the States and the bass scene?
Oh, look, I mean, all the sort of big guys, like in terms of retailers, is BASS Pro, but, Gerald Sporer, Greg DePalma, we've got those guys that we're working pretty closely with, Oliver Nye. They've been fantastic. We've been working with Greg now for probably 2 years, maybe a bit longer, and Gerald came on board, I think, start of last year. So, having those guys that you can sort of use as a resource where, we've got ideas and the sort of the technical side of it, but the on-the-water application, those guys that are just there all the time, all day, every day, doing it in those, high-end tournaments, it's pretty valuable having that relationship.
And I've heard that one of your lures has won one of the high-end kayak tournaments already.
Yeah. Greg actually won on the little Swimtrex Max, so little, lipless crankbait. Greg won, I think it was the first event that he went in with it, but I mean, I'd been sort of working on that bait with him last year, and he just loved it. It just got so much vibration, and the auto-tune thing that, has come from the saltwater application. Yep. I've looked at it and said, how can we make this work in freshwater? It's something that can give a bait more vibration. And he's gone and then said, hey, this thing's amazing, I can use it. And they've sort of taught me things about it. And they're like, oh, this thing clears grass like crazy because it vibrates so much. And it's really, it's good for this application, that application. And it's been a really good mix.
Now, I heard a rumour, though, that maybe one or two of those bass guys are going to maybe see on the Barra Tour this year. Is that an idea which is going on in that head of yours?
It is, yeah. We're trying to figure out how can we get a few of those guys over here. Yeah. So it would be pretty cool to get that mix, because it's a very similar type of fishing, obviously. The way the fish sit in the lakes, it's different, but it's similar at the same time. So I'm hoping that we can get them over later in the year. It'd be pretty cool, and it's outside their main season too, so it's a good fit.
Yeah, two good things about Barra Tour is, one, it's after their season finishes, but two, Gussie, who came across for the Barra Tour last year, won the Bassmaster Classic. There is no better sell for these guys.
No, absolutely. It's going to be really exciting. So if we can get a few more of them over, and I mean, they love catching the fish, because catching a big barra in impoundment's just so much fun, but there's a lot of the technical side of it that really translates. So it's exciting.
I think doing a lot of that stuff in person beats doing it over the internet.
Oh, absolutely. No, you've got to be here and see it. I mean, I travel over there all the time and sort of work with those guys hand in hand. You've got to spend time there's no substitute for spending time on the water. You can't, you just can't beat it, really.
I hear rumours that there's a great test tank downstairs. I want to go down and have a look at it, but I want to run through with you some of the baits that I think might play at the next two ABT Bass events this weekend and next week. So can you take us down, show us some toys?
Let's go check it out. Come on, go downstairs.
So, Damon, we've found this in the corner of the warehouse, and it looks like it's an indoor spa sales room, but it's not. This is your test tank, and it is a beauty.
This is the test tank, yeah. So we needed something that we could really, when we get samples, eyeball it, see it. I'd been doing stuff, honestly, in the pool at home for years. You don't know how many lures actually started out in my pool at home, so we needed something that other people could see and also just be involved in the testing process. And I can see a camera rail mounted on there as well. So
not just one above, you've got a camera rail in the pool and one's above the pool, so you really take that filming the action seriously.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's sometimes where you just need to be able to film stuff at that higher frame rate, slow it down, actually look at what it's doing in the water. It really helps you understand things to change. Like a lot of the time we're trying to tweak little things like the weight balance, just internal weights, how a lure works, and you just can't see it with the naked eye. You need to be able to kind of film it, slow it down, have a look at it.
And I think that this is a proper length test tank as well. We all know that the affected leaders and lines have on lure actions, and this gives you a proper amount of line out, because you can't often do that in 2 or 3 meters.
Oh, absolutely. It's enough to get a good idea of it. It's still on water testings required most of the time, but at least this gives you an idea when you get a product that you can sort of look at it and be like, oh yeah, okay, it's doing what I want it to do. Great, it's worth going and taking it out to spend time on the water. So I mean, as you know, you don't want to go out there and sort of waste your time. By the time you put the boat in the water and you're out there, at least this kind of validates, like, yep, take it to the next stage. It's worth spending some time on the water with.
And it's only about 10 steps from your secret room in there that we're not allowed to show you, but there is some cool stuff going in there. I've got 2 questions for you. Firstly, where do you find a largemouth bass which is larger than a wahoo? That's a start.
Yeah, that's
on your wall.
Yeah, on our wall only. Yeah, that's just stylized. I have heard there's some big ones in Mexico. So
there you go. And the second thing is, we've got these bass events coming up. Can we take a stroll down to your table there and check out some of the baits that I think you guys are going to love? Come Boondoomer and Somerset.
Absolutely, we've got some really cool baits down there. Come down, and I'll show you.
Cool. So we're at the, this is the prep table, I suppose, for the big casting tank there. And Damon, this is where the genesis of a lot of your lures happens. I'm sure you go through heaps of iterations of these baits to make sure they're perfect.
Absolutely. The number of prototypes on some of these is out of control. Like sometimes you get it right straight up, but that's really, really rare. So I mean, most of them would go through anywhere from 8 to 30, prototypes that you're sort of testing, just tweaking little things, just trying to get toe points right, internal weights right. You'll get batches of them with different internal weights that we get made, and yeah, there's a lot of testing. So yeah, kind of lay it out here, jump up, cast it, test it, have a look at it. Oh yeah, that kind of works, or no, I like this one, weight's a bit further forwards, just all of that sort of routine. So it's good fun for a sort of technical lure guy. I really enjoy that process and just seeing how they work in the water and what little changes you can make to them. And yeah.
Well, what I think the anglers want though is you've picked out a selection of baits that we think are going to play this next week in the Queensland Dam tournaments. And I think it's really cool for us to get that insight from you to say why you've done the things you've done to make the lures do what they do. So we've picked out a few different baits here. We've got some deep diving cranks. We've got a small square bill here, and we've got some vibration baits. Start off with the vibration baits and tell us the story about the two different styles here, which I think are going to suit this wintertime bony brim pattern in Queensland.
Absolutely. Well, this first one's called the Swim Trex. So this actually was a lure I came with long time ago, and this was the foundation of the soft vibes that we did for saltwater. So we actually launched those Vertrex range. So we got the Vertrex Swim and the Vertrex Max. This was actually the first one we made before any of those soft plastic baits. So sort of been sitting on this for a while, waiting to bring it out in a hard bait version, and it essentially swims on the sink. So you can see there that the toe point's kind of close to the front, but it's got a fairly wide body across the top, and it's got a really narrow belly. The trick with this one, there's a little bit of a concave sort of curve in the side there. Probably hard to see on that sort of matte finish, but the shiny one's a bit easier to see. But the combination of the internal weights, the concave curve, the narrow belly, the wide top, and the auto tune on top has all combined to give you something that it actually swims when it's sinking. So this thing, literally cast it out, it's essentially kind of a yo-yo bait. So you want to cast it out, let it sink, it's going to swim. So when you have a look at we've got video of this thing swimming underwater, and it's a really unique action, and then when you lift it, it vibrates. So the combination of that kind of swim on the sink, looks like a sort of a dying, fluttering bait fish, and then you give it a little rip and it kind of vibrates up, and then it's really erratic. So one of the key things I tell people fishing this is you want to do this to catch fish as well, but keep in contact with the bait. Don't let your line go slack. So when you give it a rip and let it kind of swim down, you want to try and maintain contact with the bait.
Just follow it down.
Exactly. Don't end up with a big kind of belly in the line or anything like that, because first of all, you'll miss fish, but it's a very erratic fall. So when you rip it up, it might swim off to the left, and then you rip it again, and then it might swim off to the right, and then it might try and turn around and swim backwards on itself. But it's super erratic, but that is really what we've found triggers bites.
Yeah, well, you know what other lure does that in the bass that we like? It's of course the ice jig.
Exactly.
Every time you crack it, goes a different way. So this is an ice jig which looks like a bony brim which can't handle the colder winter, and it's going to fall to the bottom.
Exactly, and it obviously it vibrates when you lift it, so it gives that extra bit of sort of appeal. And then it's got that swimming action. So obviously just when it swims, that kind of, the reflection off the side of the lure, whatever it is, it really, it really does trigger bites. So, usually what we find is when you've done the rip up, once you've just started to lower the rod tip, boom, they'll just grab. Once it's just started to do that first couple of little swims on the sink, they nail it. So that's the first one. That's called the Swim Trex. And there's another version of this that we called the Swim Trex Max.
And this is the one that I'm really interested in, because when you come to like a lure that looks like the predatory species, man, this hits the goal. And I noticed that the eye of the lure that you tie the line on, it's further back. Tell us the physics of and what it does to it.
Yeah, so this one's a lot further back than on the standard Swim Trex. So the idea with this one was to get maximum vibration. So you can see that the body shape on there, this is pretty much the complete reverse of the Swim Trex. You've got a narrower body on top, and it's got a slightly fattened out belly. So only, it's a very slight difference between the belly and the top, but the toe point's a lot further back. So it's basically more vibration. So this auto-tune system on here gives, it's just a huge amount of vibration. This is one of those lures. First time you cast it, you turn the handle 3 times, you're gonna be like, whoa, feel that. It's
especially
crazy.
on braid.
Especially on braid, like you really feel this thing. So we wanted something that you could crank really slow. Like I was trying to get maximum vibration at just this. If you want to just roll it real slow, it's still vibrating. But have something that even at sort of a moderate speed, it's just got a crazy amount of vibration. So that's what the toe point does. It does allow it to fish a little bit shallower as well, so you can use this as a yo-yo bait as well. You can cast out, let it sink, rip it up, do all that. It basically has also been designed so it sinks level, so you're not having one of these deals where it'll kind of go head first and start spinning around. So you can really fish it as a stop-start sort of deal.
How does it go ripping out a weed? Because I know a pattern that the guys like, throw it in the weed, crack it out. As soon as you crack it out, bang.
Well, it's interesting. I learned something about this fishing with the guys in the US, and I wasn't aware of how important it was over in the US market, but it's the same over here, that it's because of the amount of vibration it's got and the thinner top and the wider belly. Like Greg, Gerald, guys I was fishing with over there, like, man, this thing clears weed like nothing I've ever fished. And I was like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I meant that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was all part of the design process. I'll be honest and say that was, that was my objective from a design point of view, was make it have the most vibration that you could possibly get at slow speeds, medium speeds, high speeds. The byproduct of that was that it clears through cover really, really well. So it just doesn't, it's still got trebles on it. It can get hung up like anything, but compared to any other sort of lipless, like it just goes through grass and weed really, really easily. And I guess it's because of the amount of extra vibration it's got.
I love the fact that these are in some smaller sizes as well. And just tell me that does not look like a bony brim, which is about to get eaten by a big bass at Boondoomer.
Even that little colour, the little AG. So that's the 57 millimeter. So that's basically the smaller size. So in this one, we managed to get a little bit of extra weight in there. You can see the weight internally in that sort of clear body. This has been obviously a really popular colour, a little aqua ghost, but smaller size. So that's 14 grams for 57 millimeters. That one. That one's the silent version. So currently we've got the silent version of this one available in Australia. We do have a rattle version coming, but currently this one's
I got one here.
You got the American one. that's the silent Australian one. So yeah, but the weight, you can bomb them out a mile. They sink relatively quickly, but they do also run fairly shallow because of that high, with the position of the toe point. Then they're not a sort of a lipless that's going to run super deep. So if you want to just roll that at a moderate speed, it's going to sit pretty high in the water column.
3 or 4 foot deep in the column.
Yeah, I think it's more in that 2 to 3 range.
2 to 3
It's
foot, okay.
surprising how shallow it is, and that was again something I learned when I was fishing with the American guys. They wanted something that they could cast a long way but wouldn't actually run too deep.
You can run over the weeds.
Exactly. They want it to just obviously touch the tops of the weeds, kiss across the top of it, bounce through, puff of dust comes off the weeds, whatever, gets their attention, fish come out of the weeds. But a lot of the time that sort of 4 foot's nearly too deep, whereas 2, 2.5, 3, they were finding if you just run it just a little bit faster than they might normally do, like a slow roll, it just sits up a little bit higher, and they can sort of run it across the top of the weed. So it's super versatile, and for me that's always important in any lure. It just doesn't matter whether it's bass, barra, offshore, versatility where I want to be able to have a couple of different ways that I can fish it. It's just more. I just find it's more fun when you're fishing to be like, oh, I can cast and go faster, or I can yo-yo, or whatever you want to do. It's just a more interesting way to fish.
The other part of the equation for the Southeast Queensland dams in winter is the crankbaits.
Yes.
So we saw the Queensland, or was it the Australian Open last year, won on long lining for one of the days. We know that these things are going to be great. I want to take us through the concept of these crankbaits, how deep they go, and I think they're right in the hitting zone size-wise for our Aussie bass.
Yeah, these things are incredible how deep they'll run. So the biggest size, the 80, will get down 25 feet plus, which is crazy for a bait like that. The 65, you're looking around that sort of 18. I mean, if you're long lining that, I wouldn't be surprised if you get yeah, you're going to get that down further. But casting, you know, on a long cast, we're sort of rating that at, you know, 18 to 20 feet on a cast. This one's sort of 25 foot plus. So again, you're going to be getting over 30 feet with the bigger one if you're long lining it. But the technology in this is all about the auto tune system. So this started years ago. The DTX minnows offshore, it was all about get it deep, let it run fast. So this is really the foundation of a lot of the technology with, you know, it's the same system essentially on the lipless crankbaits, but on this it just makes it go super deep. And the reason it does that, I love being able to talk to you about the technical side of this stuff. The auto tune tow point, it's basically a metal plate on a couple of pins, and it essentially, I mean, you can quite see it in there with my big finger moving around, but that metal plate kind of moves and it effectively self-centers. So that's like, you know, patented technology that we've come up with over years, and just applied it to a whole bunch of different applications. On this, the fact that you can put it as far back, so any lure design has a point of balance where if you put the tow point too far back on the body, you know, the balance between the force on the bib and the force on the body, it just kind of overbalances and it
unstabilizes.
Exactly, it just won't swim. Now that center of balance is where you want your tow point for maximum depth. So a traditional fixed tow point, unless you can get that fixed tow point perfectly centered, you can't ever really put a fixed tow point on that center of balance, because you know, the reality is from a production point of view, you just can't manufacture product like this cost effectively.
The tolerances are too fine.
The tolerances are too fine. So that's why, you know, like we all grew up grabbing the lures and, you know, having to give it a little tweak to get it to run straight and all that sort of routine. So the idea was, how do you make something, you just take it out of the box and it works, and the byproduct is that you can mount it further back on the lip and it just runs really, really deep. So for any size of lure, that's going to allow you to just get it running deeper than, you know, really anything else you can probably fish out there.
And I think from an angler's point of view, that's what you want. You want it to not have to tune it all day and for it to get the depth, because when you're long lining especially, you want it to get down, and if the bass are in 40 foot, that's where you want your crankbait to go.
Yeah, and you don't want to be looking at it thinking, oh God, it's swimming out to the left or it's this. You just want it to be like, right, it's running straight, it's running deep, I'm not messing around. You know, like from guiding years ago, we were out there and, you know, trying to take people fishing, you pull stuff out of the box, doesn't work. You don't look real good when the product you're recommending is not working. So that's kind of where all this idea came from.
Last one we're looking at, the little square bill here, becoming more and more popular as guys sort of rediscover crankbaits. I'm sure you and I caught our first bass on crankbaits.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you've got it remanufactured here. So what do we got?
So that one's a little Atlas 55. So yeah, just a classic square bill crank that really clears through cover. You can fish this through timber. I mean, I've gone around and played with this up at the top of the Noosa River, catching bass up there. I love doing that sort of stuff. Just those really beautiful rivers, just real heavy structure though, where you're kind of having to cast into stuff and work it over timber and all the rest of it. And bass, same as whether it's jacks or bass, love it. But that's what this is all about, is working through cover, not getting fouled up. It's got the wide gap hooks on it, so just a really good casting, easy to use, and again, huge action. So the objective with this one was balance the body out. It's got the flat bit on the head, just trying to get the most action at the slowest speed. I mean, it's like a lot of the time that you want to just be able to work it slow, keep it in the zone, and get a lot of action out of it.
And you want the feedback. You want to know it's swimming right, it hasn't got weed on it, and the bass can do the rest.
Exactly. So so there's a really good range of baits there, but I think the Swimtrex Max, and obviously the D-Track there, the deep diving version, something a little bit different, and just go out there and give them a shot. And I think particularly for me, that one that swims on the sink is just so much fun to use, because you can see where when you're using your electronics properly, you can see where the fish are. Being able to cast in there and just get that reaction where you know the fish are there. Sometimes they're not eating something else, and the joy for me is working the lure in a way where you're making the fish eat it. So
Well, we really appreciate Nomad coming on board you with through BKK. You were the Bass Electric sponsor last year until Mercury pushed you out with Avatar. But you've got the lures that we need now to do well in the Bass tournaments. I know I'm going to have some tied on come these two events here, available in the local tackle stores.
Absolutely. No, they're available at all good local tackle stores. So, go check them out, and hopefully everyone has a bit of fun with them.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks for the tour.
No worries, thanks.
And
mate.
I loved your tank.
Awesome, yeah, it's good fun.
Well, there you go. How good was the level of technical knowledge in that segment? Getting guys like Damon to spend half an hour with us to do that. We really appreciate his input. And if you like that technical stuff, let us know in the comments, because I'm pretty cool with doing more and more technical stuff. This isn't an audience of millions with this show. This is an audience of hardcore tournament fishermen and guys that like tournament fishing. Now, speaking of the hardcore guys, they're all going to be keen on the Angler of the Year standings. I have our current ABT statistician sitting right here next to me, Nicole. Can you run us through where we're at and what movements we've had in the AOY races?
Yeah, let's start with the BASS Electrics, I think. So they had their last event a week or so ago at Lake McDonald. So pulling that one up there, you can see Harry Hardman still leading that AOY race there. Tyson Everly's moved up into second, and Bo Everly, so Battle of the Brothers, in the top 3 there. Going down, Stephen McLean rounding out that top 10 at the moment. So these guys, they've still got 2 events that count towards their AOY, because for BASS Electrics, we remember their grand final counts toward AOY. So they've got 1 event left in August at Hinns, and then their grand final at Wyara, I think it's October. And
how's the karma? The Bluefin fishing team stepped up this year to run the Mercury Avatar BASS Electric Series, and 3 of the top 4 I see in the AOY are Bluefin team guys. So, you know what it's like. If you help ABT out, the fishing gods look after you. So that's pretty cool.
And on a side note, we'll talk about it a bit more, but how hard is Bo loving the Mercury Avatar at the moment?
He's such a fanboy. We do have a link which went on our ABT YouTube channel. You might be watching on it right now, but I tried my best to do a clickbait thumbnail and title for that. I fished a Pro Bass event in this boat, and it's a little pointing to his electric motor, but there's a full wrap-up. It's nearly a 10-minute video of Bo's first impressions, second impressions, third impressions, all of his impressions about the Avatar, and I think, he secretly wants to cuddle it all night.
Yeah, we had to pry it off his hands, that demo model, get it back to Mercury.
Let's get to the Daiwa BREAM series. We're about, 4 events down in that now, halfway through the AOY race.
Halfway through the season. So let's start with the non-boaters here. Michael Samet, Bill Bland. They've got the advantage, those sneaky guys, because they've had an extra event under their belts, because they have done the WA event in Perth.
Well, our guys could have gone and done it if they wanted to.
They could have, and then they've done the miles and come across to the East Coast. They've been in Victoria. We saw them at the Hawkesbury. So, well-deserved, sitting at the top of the table there. Tucker from Daiwa.
Ooh, big move up after his win at Hawkesbury.
Yep. And then, so Lance, Joel McKenzie, so a lot of New South Wales. Mick Thompson, Builder Mick.
Yep, that's Builder Mick, not Bass Cat Mick.
Not Bass Cat Mick, it's Builder Mick. Dallas and Richard Hadlow rounding out that top 10.
Hey, how would it be in the car with Joel and Lance? They're 2 guys that travel together, and they're right next to each other in AOY. So, man, there's a bit of bragging rights statistics would be going on in the back of that car on the way back north after the Hawkesbury.
All the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yep.
So jumping across to the boater AOYs for BREAM, there's been a little bit of movement going on there. So last time we checked in, Mitch Blomqvist was leading this race.
After a couple of cracking Victorian events.
But now Liam Carruthers has jumped up. He did well. He's consistently doing well. That's why Liam's sitting up there at the moment. He's had consistent top 5s, I think, this year.
But how scary are the guys chasing him?
And the interesting thing too, looking at this list going down for boaters, when I look at the entry list for Lake Mac coming up in a couple of weeks, Liam's not on it yet. But out of that list, I think we've got nearly the rest of them are.
Yep.
And dangerous one, like Mark Healy.
Yep.
Lake Mac's his doorstep. Jamie McEwen, he knows how to get the tarwine.
Ooh, the tarwine master. Yeah, I wonder how many guys are going to be salty when they try to catch him off the bridge and can't, but Jamie just outdistances them and catches them on his heavily weighted crab.
Out-patiences them.
Oh, I would have left that 650 times before he got his first bite. I think the last time he won there, he had a second day 5-bag limit of tarwine. I don't think he caught his first fish for like 3 hours. 3 hours? I could be wasting heaps of petrol racing around all over the lake doing that. So if he does well again on that bridge, man, he deserves it. And Jamie's one I think is going to be one worth looking out for in AOY, because he's probably going to fish all of the Northern Queensland events.
I think he's already entered.
Yeah, and there's no one who's just smashed in every event. Even Liam's had an event where he's sort of come 20th or something like that in. So it's not like someone's getting a whole series of top 5s. It's pretty wide open still. It's just proved this year that the depth of the field means that even if you catch fish, you can come 20th or 30th, and that's not going to get you too far in the AOY race.
So plenty, and we're only halfway through the season for BREAM, so a lot can still happen before it's over. So jumping over to BASS, so there's no changes since we had our last update on here. We have had no events, but these next 2 rounds are going to take us to 2/3 of the way through the BASS Pro series. Of this top 10 here for the boaters, I know that 8 out of 10 of these guys are fishing these next couple of rounds.
Yep.
So I think it's just going to keep it tight, keep it interesting, keep it exciting as we finish up the season.
And how good's that? There's a couple of Victorians in there. We got Steve Duff, we got Tom Deere from South Australia, Corey Goldie from Victoria. Wouldn't it be cool to see a Victorian or a South Australian be right up there and in the race for AOY come the last 2 events, that Hunter Valley road trip in September?
For sure. Moving across to the non-boaters as well. Again, no real changes here, but a lot of these guys are joining us for the next 2 rounds. So I suppose Tim Jones, Heath Kim and Nick Brown. I know he's on the road at the moment driving up.
He would have the secret maps from his kids.
He would definitely have the secret maps. Matty Langford be waiting on the sidelines for that inside knowledge. So yeah, anything can happen. We're 1/3 of the way through. We've still got four rounds of that Bass Pro series still to come.
It's always an interesting race, and remember that for the BREAM, I think it's your best 5 of the 8 events. For the BASS, is it the top 4 of 6?
Yes.
Check the rules, but we have to check them at the end of the year. Like, we tweak it according to how many events there are in the year. If there's only 3 events, it would be the best of 3. If there's 15 events, we know everyone can't do all of them. For the BREAM especially, we pick a number of events, which means you can't just win doing one species. If you're a black bream expert, you can't just do all black bream events and not catch a yellowfin. You've sort of got to do well in at least one yellowfin event, or the yellowfin guys have to do well in at least one black bream event, just to show your versatility. No use coasting on being a WA or a Victorian or a Tasmanian expert. You've got to be able to catch them everywhere.
I think too, if you're toying with the idea, we just can't spruik enough how awesome Gladstone is. Chasing those pikey bream up there, it's so much fun.
Oh, there are plenty of fish there. App-based tournament, I think the numbers are growing every year there, and the cool part about the Gladstone tournament is all of the photos and all of the data goes to the Gladstone Healthy Harbours program. We help them with their monitoring. They had a little bit of dramas with water quality when they were making the CSG ports there. Seems to have levelled up, but that community monitoring that us and you guys are all involved with it's pretty cool, because when a greenie comes at us down the track and says, "What do you do for fishing?" and I'm like, "What do you do for fishing?" Our data matters to people, and it's got a big footprint, and I'm looking forward to beating the keyboard warriors right round the head with that.
And where else can you go fishing for bream and be shooing off the barra?
Oh, annoying barra. It's like, get off me rock bar barra. Big finger mark. Jordan Armstrong caught a little stub-nosed dart. They call it permit. All the fly guys, they're apparently
giant squid.
Squid. Oh yeah, Steve Wilson's big squid, and of course Steve Wilson caught an 86 centimetre barra on a gulp 3-inch grub. So a lot of things happen to Gladstone. We've moved more into winter this year, so it's always been like back-to-back with the Australian Barra Open, but we've sort of juggled it around, and we are taking you to Gladstone in the best time of the year, where the yellowfins should be spawning, the pikers will be pre-spawn. Going to be some fish caught, I reckon, this year. I reckon the weights are going to be up.
Let's keep this show moving tonight, though. We caught up with Harry Curley from Garmin. He dropped by the office earlier today, talking all things tech.
Yeah, and if you're a bream guy and I've had heaps of questions after Sydney that wants to know all about live scoping for bream, well, this one's going to answer a few of your questions. So here he is, the man from Garmin who, well, let's face it, you do everything there, don't you, Harry? Harry Curley, not only does he work on Garmin units behind the scenes and make sure the whole organisation moves smooth, but he can live scope a big cod and a big barra as well, can't you? You're not bad at that stuff.
Oh yeah, a little last minute barra, wouldn't it? Yeah, I guess I was a bit rich on a description of what I do, but yeah, been with Garmin for close to 3 years now, and yeah, loving it.
Well, I actually made that up because I don't actually know what you do there. What do you do at Garmin? Jason's not watching, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Jason. Nah, I look after Queensland for sales and service. I look after that with Dan Sides. There's 2 of us there, but in Queensland we've got a pretty big team, so pretty lucky.
One of those team, the ABT guys would remember him, Steve Eldred from Battery Traders. He's now in the Garmin family. He's the one when stuff gets real, you send that man in and he sorts it out.
He's the man to look after any issues if we ever have them.
One of the reasons I got you on today, Harry, we're going to talk about a few things, but the first thing I want to talk about is the ability of Garmin units to easily screen record and then to share that information via social media or doing a seminar. The ability to capture that information is, I think, easier on Garmin units than anything else. It's through an app called Active Captain, And I just want you to take the live viewers through the hardware you need and the limitations of the Active Captain and what it can actually do. So, Harry, can you give us Active Captain 101?
Yeah, so as you said before, like we were talking about it, I think the cool thing about being able to record now is you've got the ability to show how you did it. The fish photos are awesome, and to show your friends what you've caught, but how to do it, I think is next level. So as long as you've got an Android or an iOS device in a somewhat newer form, like we've got an iPad here, we've got an 8400 on the boat. It'll only work with a GPS map 8400 or GPS map in general. So it'll work with any of the 1253, 953, 753, all the way to our big 24-inch
And
GPS maps.
I'll take the jargon out of that for you. It's just basically your top-of-the-line multifunction displays this works with. Active Captain does hook up to the other ones, but you can't record on it. Is that the deal?
Yeah. So you can still use Active Captain with all of our
to
eco
control
maps. Not so much control, but like your mapping, downloading new mapping,
software updates,
etc.
Okay, so the GPS map units, the top of the line ones, are the ones you need to do this recording, and it's a free app from the Google Play or App Store.
Yep. So it's a free app. So if you're wanting to just go straight into be able to download any sort of recordings, it is 100% a free process to do.
Now, the way we do it, and I had to learn this, I had to actually read the instruction book at the start, but what happens is your GPS map unit has its own Wi-Fi network. Just like your Wi-Fi router at home, it has a network. Mine's called Morgan 16-inch, just because that's the size of my screen on the front, and each sounder has its own Wi-Fi network, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct. So obviously, if you've got a boat of multiple screens, you'll only need a network to one screen, and then from there, with the network system in the boat, you can actually select the screen on what you want to record from.
So you have your own network there, and you open up the app, and you select that Wi-Fi network when you're on the boat. So you jump on the boat, you pick, in my case, I picked Morgan 16-inch, and then I open up my Active Captain, and I want you to pick up and just show us what that interface looks like. We're going to have a recording going here on the side. So Harry, show us what it looks like. Maybe reverse out to what your here we go. This is what your screen looks like. That's what the icon looks like, that Active Captain icon. Clip on it and show us what comes up.
So pretty much from there, what we've got is our sync to plotter. Sync to plotter will show us if we're transferring any data, any waypoints, etc., or new mapping. Then we've got My Marine Devices. So on My Marine Devices, I would have a list of my own devices. So they're the devices that are in my personal boat.
Yep.
And if we were to go back to Helm, so Helm is our feature that we're going to use to record or take any sort of images off of our head unit.
And now what that does is that mirrors what's on the screen of your unit. And the cool thing I find about it is you can actually control your GPS map unit from Active Captain, like the buttons all work.
Yep. So it's a 100% interactive to the screen that you're connected to. So at the moment, this screen here is connected up to Morgo's 16-inch, and we'll go into our Helm.
Yep. So we go in and have a look. It has to find the unit, pulls up the data on it, and then that gives you the screen that you can work off when you're recording. So I can see it sitting there. You've set it in simulator already. My boat isn't sitting in 382 feet of water at the car park,
no, it's
luckily.
Definitely not.
So clop on that screen there and show us what's going on the unit. So yeah, we're a little bit away from it at the moment, so it mightn't be perfect, the connection, but there we go. There's the simulator screen. If I want to, I can see at the same time what's happening on my screen for my livescope on any other screen in the boat, and in fact I can record it, and it's as easy as hitting that little button in the top right corner, that record button, hit it there, and all of a sudden that is going to be putting the recording of what's happening into the photo roll, and we all know how to go to photos on our phone. We can go from there, share it straight to Facebook, message it to your mate, secretly message it to your mate you like. Don't send it to the mates you don't want to know where the fish are, and all of a sudden you've got that recording of, it wasn't even the fish that got away, it's a fish you haven't even caught yet. You can see it on there. I think that's a really cool feature, and I think that's what's made Garmin so popular, is because your dealers, your anglers can go out and record these unreal screenshots that look fantastic. Fish eating lures, fish following lures, fish ignoring lures. And it's the technology that I use to embed in my BREAM live streams at the Open last week. Now, I've always been a perspective mode guy, which means the transducer's sideways, and I like finding those barra and those fish in less than 20 foot of water. Morgo learned how to do the forward view on the weekend. I was amazed at how clear you could see your BREAM at 80 to 90 feet in front of the boat. How long has this been going on for?
Yeah, it's
All the time.
BREAM, yeah, it's sort of, you've untapped something that a lot of people didn't think it had the ability to do in the way of being a smaller fish. Everyone chases barra, everyone chases cod with it, but like we're chasing prawns with it now. So
I
prawns
see
on
that,
livescope with watching a cast net drop over a school of prawns that no one else can see is pretty impressive. So.
How many kilos of prawns do you need to catch to pay for a livescope? Fair few.
Oh,
a couple of
God.
buckets.
Yeah, there'd be a few there. There'd be a fair few buckets for sure.
We're going to go and have a look at my setup in the boat of how my unit's set up to sea bream at that distance. But from a basic point of view, a live scope setup, not necessarily with the top of the line that can do active captain, but what do you need to spend to get your basic live scope with, say, the basic transducer and a smaller head unit?
Yeah, so I think ballpark, if you're talking like a 9-inch unit is pretty much a textbook little unit. The 9-inch EcoMap UHD2, it's got a great pixel count, super clear. So it's that size that you can start to use live scope, and it's not overly too small, but you're not pushing into a GPS map where you're forking out. You got money falling out of your pockets left, right, and centre. But then you could say about $3,000 to $3,500. You could probably pull up a live scope system.
Okay, and then going up to the one like I've had the small ones, and I'm getting older eyes now. Turned 51 this week, so I like the big screen, and you can spend like probably about a $10,000 system on my boat, that one. But I started with the small one, and I just kept on upgrading the components. You can upgrade the transducers, you can upgrade the head units, and you can do it at a pace that, well, I did it at a pace that suited me. You know, you come into a bit of money, it's like, right, I've saved that aside, I'm going to get myself a 16 now. Harry did the wrong thing by me. He lent me a 16-inch unit, and then I couldn't live without one. So thanks very much for that.
I don't know if it was the wrong thing by me, but it definitely got him. Didn't take him long.
Let's go into the car park, and we're just going to have a look through exactly how I've got my boat set up. So Harry, we're out here now. Great day for playing with boats and not for fishing, mate. She's a bit nasty here in southeast Queensland, but I just want to run through my actual setup. The Garmin stuff that's on the front of my Basscat Pantera Classic. This is the exact setup that I use down in Sydney, and it's still set up. I sort of haven't touched it since I've come back from Sydney in the Hawkesbury. So the Garmin Force electric motor, mate. Look how nice this one is compared to my last one.
She's a lot nicer than the other one, I can tell you that. That thing went through the ringer, didn't it?
Yep. I gave it a hiding, and I broke some parts on it that Steve Eldred said I've never seen broken before. But as usual, Garmin after sales service got me sorted out. We replaced a couple of the plastic bits I broke, and she's still going fine right now. This unit here, this is the second Force I've got. It's running on my 24 volt lithium battery, and the cool thing about the Garmin gear is it can run on up to 30 volts, all of it. So I run this 16-inch unit, the livescope black box, and the trolling motor off the same battery, and there's no interference. Why is there no interference?
I think that's the benefits of going the brushless motor. Like it's a cleaner motor, as well as lithium in itself is a much cleaner power supply. So they run more efficient, and at that higher voltage, they are a much more efficient unit in itself.
Now, we have people that put poles down, and I'm one of the people. I've got a pole in the back where we have another live scope unit we use for barra fishing, but when I'm bream fishing, I love to have my live scope transducer on the trolling motor, which means when I'm steering the motor, every direction I'm pointing it, I can see the fish. How common is it to have that non-pole setup? How many use it on the trolling motor versus the pole?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys that are running 2 live scopes now, we got like 2 live scopes up the front of the boat. I was fishing with Matty Langford, and what he does is he's got one pole who's on a motorised pole that he can move, but then can lock to a certain area, but then he can still scope around with his other electrics. So obviously the standalone pole is quite popular, but I think it just depends on the type of fishing that you're doing. So being on the electric, obviously, if you wanted to scan somewhere where you're not going, you're not having to turn your electric, but if you're using it to side, or if you're spot locked and facing forward, it's a killer tool.
That's right, and for me, that Panoptix on the perspective mode, looking on that was great, but the forward mode for me, and I'm telling the bream guys that are interested about this, having it on your trolling motor is a good idea, because you've got 2 hands to fish then. You haven't got one hand driving a pole, one hand trying to drive a rod. You haven't got enough hands for that. So it's like your trolling, it's like when you used to use your old transom mounted trolling motor on the bow of your boat. You probably don't remember those days. You're too young.
I've had one a while ago, but it's been a minute.
So you want to assign everything you can to your feet so you can use your hands for fishing. So I've got this set up on this is an LVS 34, which is the Livescope Plus transducer. It comes with this, I don't know if it's not called a perspective mount anymore. It's just a standard mount that comes in the box, and it fits nearly all trolling motors.
Yeah, so it is still a perspective mode mount, but it's got the shaft mount for it, so you can mount it to any size electric motor shaft or to a standalone pole. So yeah, it gives you the best of all three worlds.
I think with the force trolley motor, it's really good because it's actually keyed, so you cannot get it in the wrong position. If you put it in the key position, it's going to be perfect. And I haven't had to dick with it all when it's on there. I just turn it on and away I go. This also just lets me do a couple of twists of these two knobs, and that can then swap position between one and the other. So if you want to go and have a look at perspective mode, it takes me probably about 2 minutes maybe to get it up, twist it, make the setting changes, and away we go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're using two settings in one day and you're making the one change, like overall, in the big scheme of things, it's a very short process to change it over.
So what I do is I've got my big 16-inch unit here as well, and it's making some funny noises at the moment. I don't know what it's doing, but I'm going to turn it off. I have this sounder set as the most forward of my sounders. The last thing you want to be doing is looking all the way back down to your feet the whole time. So I have it as far forward as I can, tilt it up a little bit, and as I'm swinging that transducer around, and you can see in the cutaways, you can see exactly what we can see here. Big schools of brim under boats, brim under pontoons, and of course you can watch my highlights from the Open to see how that all comes together. So Harry, brim fishing on livescope, it's a whole new world for these guys, and these brim guys thought they could get away without this live forward-facing sonar. They're buggered now, aren't they?
They definitely are, and I think as time goes, people are finding different uses for it. Like we've got it on emergency rescue boats, finding boats, sunken items, and yeah, like we're chasing prawns, and now you're using it for finding brim under pontoons that you didn't know were there.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Garmin, thank you very much for being such a great sponsor of ABT. You've been a great sponsor for the last few years. We have one of the prize boats at the end of the year, fully kitted up with live scope and a GPS map unit. It's awesome to see the support, and I hope the guys are spending enough money with you to make it all happen next year, mate.
No, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's awesome to be a part of you guys, and yeah, look forward to where the future goes.
There you go. You got it first. These guys locked in for the next decade.
There we go. Harry's a good sport, isn't he?
He is, and I did take Harry live scoping on Lake Awonga after the Open last year. He was just happened to be driving past and go, oh, you're on the barras. Yep, we caught like 10 the night before. So he dropped in and we caught a few barras, and we had it in perspective mode, and he was just like sniping the fish as they went through. And I said, mate, we got a tournament to do or something the next day. You got till 10 o'clock to catch a fish. I think it was about 9:53. I think he finally hooked up and got himself a beauty on the live scope.
Because I had dinner cooking. I was like, hurry up, Harry's going to burn.
Yep, that's right. And he had to lean on that and get it in. So good night, caught 3 or 4 on the live scope. He definitely knows his stuff when it comes to the Garmin gear. So if you see him at any of the boat shows, like the Sanctuary Cove Boat Show, grab him. Tell him thanks for sponsoring ABT. Not that Harry does exactly it, but he has influenced people up there. Let the Garmin guys know that you appreciate what they do. And someone, of course, at the end of the year, it's not just a live scope on the boat that we put. They put a Force electric motor. Like it's a whole Garmin setup on one of the prize boats. Unsure if it's brim or bass for this year. Do you remember?
We have a picture of it somewhere.
There's a picture of it somewhere. One of the gets it. The other one gets, of course, the BLA setup. So some great electronic sponsors with ABT. Now, Nicole, introduce the next segment. It's your favourite Australian wannabe bass angler in the US at the moment. And you cried when you had to leave him at the Classic.
Rubbish.
I got a photo.
So yeah, Tommy Wood. We know him for his barra fishing. We've seen him catch the bass. We've seen him catch the brim. He is living his absolute best life at the moment over in the US. We said goodbye to him after our trip over to see the Classic. Sent him on his merry way, and we caught him in between events earlier today, so it would have been about dinner time, his time, and got a bit of an update for him. But I know you're listening, Rob Wood, and Steve does ask Tommy what is the scariest thing he's had to deal with.
So a bit of a warning.
Block your ears, censor that bit. Alrighty, let's cut to Tommy now.
So when we cross to America, we're normally crossing to Carl Jochimson or Gussie or, some good fisherman, but all we could get was Tommy this week. Tommy Wood, we took you to the Bassmaster Classic. You had the time of your life there, and now you are living the dream over in the US, mate. It's great to catch up on ABT Live.
Yeah, mate, it's been an awesome trip so far. So we got to go to the Classic for a couple of days and had a lot of fun there, and now I'm somewhere in Alabama about to fish another Open event, so it's been pretty good.
Take us through your schedule since the Classic. We were a bit worried for you when you came to us and you said, this hotel's great, they park your car for you, but then you didn't know about valet parking, that they were charging you $25 a day to do it. But you've gone into the world, outside world all by yourself. You've learned how to catch the largemouths in the ponds. take us through a bit of a narrative about the tournaments you've been to and the things you've seen, mate. I want to hear some of the stories.
Oh, it's been a steep learning curve, that's for sure. We landed in Knoxville like sort of around the end of March, and I plan to stay here for 3 months or like, fishing 4 opens and marshalling 4 events as well. So it's been pretty busy. I think I had about a couple of days in between the classic as to my first open event at Toledo Bend. It was a steep learning curve, but I had like 4.5, 5 days on the water with Jamie Bruce pre-fishing, so I got a feel for it pretty quick and understand the fish. But it's been good fun. It's been non-stop. I've just been driving between like tournaments and marshal events and just like on the way every day, and it's been great.
Tell us about, let's break it into 2 parts. We'll talk about the opens a little bit later, but talk about marshalling. I got to experience the marshalling thing in the classic with Carl for a day. It was, I did learn that firstly, you eat a lot when you're not fishing. You sit there and you eat, but it's such a great experience to be on the boat with guys that you'd only ever seen on the internet before and on Bass Live. Tell us what that's like.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to be packing lunch. You get pretty bored pretty quick, but it's I think the first guy I ever marshaled was at Lake Murray, and that was Jason Christie, and I honestly couldn't wipe the smile off my face all morning. I was just couldn't believe it, and like being able to sit in the passenger seat next to those guys, watch them fish, is unreal. But it's such a great learning experience because like you get to see all the smaller things they do, like not just the techniques, but the way they position their boat. Like just so much that you wouldn't really sort of pick up on otherwise, and it just gets that learning curve a lot faster for you. So it's definitely worth doing if you come over.
Yep, I agree. It's there's not many sports where you get to, run with the dogs during the event because, you're doing the starts, you're doing the fast runs across the lake, coming out of your skiddy with your 150 F Series Yamaha on, mate. How do these fast boats go? You get the crap out of you?
Oh yeah. The first couple events, I was definitely hanging on pretty hard, but it's such a cool experience. But the boats are insane. Some of the rigs you see, and just mind blowing. You get to see all the latest technology, all the latest lures, and a lot of the guys too. You end up making good friends with, like Jacob Prosnick. I had him at Santee, and he gave my number, and he gave me a heap of baits to try. And I see him at every elite event now. He says g'day and all sort of stuff. So it's definitely a cool little thing to do.
They'll be super friendly to you, mate, until you are a Bassmaster Elite and start taking their money. Then they're like, "Screw you, Tom Wood."
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That'll work.
Now let's shift to the other side of what you're doing over there. Gussie was good enough to hook you up with one of the Canadian guns, who's one of the EQ, the Elite Series qualifiers. If you don't know, on ABT Live, there's about 170 guys or 180 guys are vying for just 9 elite spots. And Jamie's one of those, and he's one of Gussie's mates. How's that experience been with one of Canada's top anglers?
It's unreal. He is a gun angler. Like seeing him on livescope, he's just dialed with that forward view. So Gussie hooked me up with him. So we met Gussie last year at the Classic. Just said, if you need anything, let me know. And I said, all right, I'm coming over for 3 months. And he hooked me up with Jamie Bruce, and it's just been awesome. So we've been pre-fishing each event together, and it's good just to spend the time on the water watching him use livescope, all his techniques. There's all these different techniques that he uses in Canada that a lot of the American guys don't use as well. So I get to see that side of it as well as the American techniques during the competition. So it's pretty mind-blowing seeing all the different stuff, but
and I reckon it's good for him as well. Having a competent angler to pre-fish with helps him break down these massive lakes even quicker. Give the live viewers a bit of an idea on how large some of these lakes are, because I don't reckon a lot of the Aussies get it.
Oh, it's huge. Toledo Bend, we didn't even fish the whole. I think we were there for 5.5 days. We didn't even touch the whole lake. We probably did about 1/3 of it. And some of the arms, like Mondrian, I reckon is the size of one of the arms. And we spent probably a day and a half just fishing, and we were like non-stop moving, scanning, live scope. And it's not like with Barry, you throw either a slick rig or a reddick. Here, it's like you got top water, you got 20-foot ledges, worms, crankbaits, spinnerbaits on the edge, shad spawn. There's just all this stuff that plays into it. all depending on different temperatures, wind direction, and time of day. It's been unreal to watch. And being with Jamie, like, he just knows it like the back of his hand, so it's pretty cool to see how it all goes down.
Well, you've preempted one of my questions there. How many fish have you caught on black slickies and reddick so far? Because at the start, you're like in the classic, yeah, Carl's just throw a black slicky, you'll be right.
0. Tried them, but no good yet.
Mate, tell us about, in Australia, you're one of the guys who's really switched on to the forward-facing sonar and the live sonar stuff. How good are most of the guys that using it? You said Jamie's a bit of a gun at it. Are all the elites on it like you are and like Jamie is, or do some of them have their strengths and some of them just ignore it?
Yeah, it's definitely some like are really good and I'm still fishing old school, but like I had Chad Pickens the other day at Lake, and he was just dialed with. He had like 140 out, and he was fishing brush piles with jerk baits, and he was all over it. But yeah, I guess it all depends on what sort of technique they're throwing. And like Jason Christie, he was fishing beds and still used his live scope to see the bed fish when the sun wasn't out. So they definitely use it a lot more than what I thought they probably would in different situations. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Tell us about your travel experience in the US. You went off about a day into your classic trip. You just went to the first dodgy used car dealer and just gave him your wallet, and he gave you a car. How's it held up?
Oh, she's going all right. Still just had to get a new pair of tires on it, but it's been expensive, like to buy the car and have a registration, all that sort of stuff, and it's been pretty full on. But my original plan was the camp out the back of that, but I didn't realize it was going to be so hard just to find a camper shell for it. So I'm just going like with cheap Airbnbs and stuff. But it's good definitely having a car. There's so many things you don't really think about when you're in Australia. You think, oh, I could go buy a car at a dealership. But I realised they don't use the same money transfer over here. So they don't have BSB and account number. They got account number and some other form of transferring. So I couldn't buy the car, and I was getting a bit worried, and I ended up paying like $13,500 US over card on a Air Force machine. I'm out of my account like 20 grand. So it's just been a steep learning curve, and it's definitely been pretty stressful.
Well, you got to get all that stuff out of the road so that when you do go back, and if you decide to come back and have a chop at qualifying for the leagues, you're going to need to get all of the day-to-day stuff as second nature to you. So make all the mistakes now. Tell us about the sketchiest thing you've been stuck in so far, mate. Tell us the scary story.
There's been a couple, but it's just like you just need to sort of be pretty wise with everything. I know, like I stayed at Carl's house for one night, and him and Ian Miller were just telling me all these stories about how sketchy it is. So they sort of switched me on a fair bit. But like you'll be at service stations and people come up to you ask for cash, and it's just like so full on to deal with. But yeah, she's definitely a pretty sketchy joint.
Yeah, literally that saying the wrong side of the tracks is true, isn't it? Because in America, one side of the tracks is a lovely suburb, the other side is a war zone.
Yeah. Like I did the stupid mistake of locking my car keys in my car one night before a marshal event. So I had to call these guys up from to come get the key out. And they said I'm in the full hood, so I was like pretty stoked with that. But yeah, I've definitely been staying in some sketchy areas just trying to get cheap Airbnbs. But yeah, it's a different world.
Mate, when you lock your keys in the car in the hood, don't you just ask the dude walking down the street to get them for you? He'd be on top of that.
Yeah, he's will just smash the window and get in. So
tell us about your favourite technique that you've learned so far in the US that you hadn't done in Australia. What's your favourite way of catching largies and smallies?
It's just so much. Like probably my favourite ways was fishing offshore on like ledges and stuff. On Toledo Bend, we ended up fishing swim jigs and spinnerbaits up shallow, and that's like a lot of fun. And then after that shad spawn later, we went fished some ledges, and we marked this big school of probably about 30 fish, and we were just dragging around like 10-inch worms on the bottom, and it's just cool to feel them pick it up, and you got to let them eat it, wind up the slack, and then crack them. So it's definitely something I want to try on barra too. Like when you can't get them to bite, drag them on the bottom, or just I've got so many ideas running through my head now. So
yeah, because if I was a big barra sitting on the bottom, I'd really want a worm to crawl past because I'd be on top of that.
Yeah. But one thing I really want to try is I don't think we take like, you know how at Tinneroo we do the morning event and you get all those bonies flicking in the morning. I don't think we really take advantage of that as much as we should. Like seeing these guys with shackle, with spinnerbaits made up. I definitely want to try that on Barra, so I'm looking at maybe getting a decent spinnerbait made up, just a single blade or something, just to try on Tinneroo.
Oh yeah, that Tinneroo bony brim spawn in the morning is something to behold, and we all see on the livescope how many giant barrages line up for that. So
yeah,
Shad's good tricks, bring them back, mate, and you'll be sweet. We haven't opened entries for the Barra Tour yet, but we hear word that there's a variety of anglers keen on coming across this year. How many of the Americans and Canadians you're hanging around with ask you questions about the Barramundi?
Oh, so much all the time. A lot of them want to come over. Like we when I was with the boys in Knoxville, I was with Mark Harriet, Joey Urquhart, and Timmy Oakley, and we met Joey Cifuentes, and he was keen as to come over. But like I'll tell them Barra all along. Like all the elites all ask about the Barra, and they all want to come over and give it a try. So it's definitely something that's going to happen in the future, I think.
Awesome, mate. Well, I'm sure you're being a fantastic ambassador for Australia over there. Are there any people that have helped you out that you want to maybe thank? A shout out to the boys, apart from the obvious, the Canadians, which are helping the Aussies no end, and the Carl Jochimsons. Anyone else you need to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Yeah, like my family, like my dad, my mum, my grandma, my girlfriend, and my sister, they've all been helping me out so much. I probably couldn't have been over here without all the help they've given me. And Josh and Kate from Samaki have helped me out like tremendously as well. Not only just over here, but back home, they've been great to me. So thanks so much, guys, for all that. Like I honestly wouldn't be here otherwise, and it's been like a trip of a lifetime. And I just hoping that I can get a bit more money over here and hopefully come back again soon. So.
Well, there are two ways you can do that, mate.
Yeah.
One, you can win one of the co-angler events, and you've got another one coming up, I think. But the second way, that's probably a more practical way to do it, is you can pimp some of those tournament shirts, mate. How many have you got made up for sale that people can buy to give you a bit of a hand?
Yeah, so thanks to everyone who's already done it as well. That's been great. I think I've sold like 30 now. Website made up called fishing.com. And you jump on there, there's $75. We're just shipping to Australia at the moment, and $75 is included in that. So just bought a jersey, and all the funds just go to pretty much filling the truck so I can drive around the country a bit longer. But yeah, that's definitely helped me out heaps. And yeah, thank you guys huge. Like you guys have been great as well. Like hooking me up to stay with Carl and Gussie last year. Without that, I probably wouldn't have had the plan to come here too. So.
Mate, you know what we do. We go to any ends to get rid of all the really good Barra fishermen so I can win a Barra trophy, mate. That's how it works. We do what it takes. The connection's a little bit dodgy here at my end, mate, but thanks very much for joining us tonight. I know you're in a bit of a distant part of America. Tell us where the next open event is and where we're going to watch you.
At the moment, I'm about half an hour out of Cape in Alabama, and the lake is called Wheeler Lake. And the open starts, it'll be on Thursday, America. So I think that's about Wednesday.
Friday.
So the website, yeah, Friday your time, yeah. So yeah, have a look through website. I'll be posting stuff on Instagram also. Fingers crossed we can do it on this one.
All right, mate. I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you for the update, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again before you jump on the big red tail plane home.
Sweet. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're back.
Just got in trouble for making noise.
I was trying to listen to Tommy.
Which leads to the question for the next prize pack. We get an atomic prize pack here, which is sort of a Barra / big flathead prize pack. Haven't released the Barra Tour entry forms. Maybe the next live show will be the launch of the Xeric Barra Tour for 2023. Got all that interest from overseas, from the bass guys that want to do it. Mm-hmm. All the local guys love the Barra fishing. All the blokes haven't really run over. Even Teambra seems to be pretty sweet. Didn't lose all the big fish there. So there's some baits here you might want. You might want to have one of the bully mullet reel baits from Atomic. We've got one of those in there. A slim twitcher deep and one of the slim twitchers in shallow, as well as an Atomic cap. What question have we got for that one, Nicole?
Well, that was the Tommy segment. If you were listening carefully, you will know Tommy's fishing some opens while he's doing his stint over in the US. what is the next open event starting this weekend
Oh, yeah.
that Tommy's going to be competing in?
Like reading comprehension.
Pop that in the comments below and we'll pick a winner shortly.
Not necessarily the first person, but a winner. If Nicole likes the cut of your jib, you're away. So that's awesome. We've got another sort of technical segment now, one I really enjoyed filming because I've been using the Maui Jim sunglasses for probably a couple of years now.
Yeah, they came on board with ABT a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Now been awesome supporters of what we do.
And I love my Mauis now. I've got some frames that suit my face. But Rob Garrett from Maui, he went into the depths of probably why I like them so much. So let's go talk to the Maui Jim guys. Expect big things from them in coming years.
Maui Jim sunglasses were born on the beaches of Hawaii, designed to respond to the bright sun and harsh glare of the islands, all while enhancing the view. After 30 years, we're still independently owned, and the free-thinking Hawaiian spirit that first inspired us is still a part of everything we do. Our Polarized Plus 2 lenses not only protect eyes from harmful rays, they also make colors more vivid and contrast crisper. Try on a pair and see for yourself. The view's better from here.
We're pretty lucky tonight. We've got access to Rob Garrett. Rob, you're from Maui Jim. You're into about the third year of sponsorship with ABT, and I can say that ever since swapping to the Mauis, been loving them for my fishing, mate. Tonight, I want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit in a bit more depth about some of the technology behind the glasses, because I now know they work, but I want to know why they work. Are you in a position to tell us these things, Rob?
Look, I certainly am, and thanks for having me on. And Maui Jim sunglasses is all about our polarized technology. So in particular, our polarized plus 2, that's the difference between us and a standard sort of polarized lens. So the plus 2 for us is really the color enhancing technology that goes into our lenses. So you'll see a lot of polarized glasses out there, but the difference for us is really boosting that color and cutting out the glare as well at the same time.
As a fisherman, of course, we are 100% of the time dealing with glare. It's the thing that stops us seeing our quarry in the water. How much experience did you have in the fishing space before, getting involved with companies like ABT? You now know what a finicky mob we can be and how many different conditions that we have on the water.
Well, look, Maui Jim being a Hawaiian company, started in Maui. So we were on and around the water from day dot. Way back in the 1980s, we've been involved with, activities on and around the water. So fishing, surfing, anything that you can think of in that space. It's kind of part of our DNA and the DNA of the brand. So evolving more heavily into that fishing market over the past couple of years within Australia has been really exciting for us because we've had a bit of a base there to start with. And now we're really starting to make some inroads into that space and being able to provide product to the people that need it the most when they're on and around the water.
It's interesting. Every time an ABT angler goes to a tournament briefing, there are several questions we ask them. We ask them what brand outboard motor they use, whether they've got their fishing license. And one of the questions we ask is, what brand of sunglasses do you use all the time? Now, Nicole Smith, our tournament director, she puts all that information behind the scenes. And for us, it's a really good way of gauging how well the anglers support the sponsors. Now, in the sunglass space, of course, there's lots of different brands. Anglers, I suppose, have a choice of brands of what they use, but we see every time with a sunglass sponsor, the sponsor of ABT gets that traction and sales go up. And right now, Maui Jim's up to number 2, where it was, one of the others. It's now up to number 2 and growing really strongly in the space. And the feedback that I get from competitors is that they really love wearing them on the water. Now, when people ask me what lens is my favorite lens, I always say it's the HT lens. Give us the 101 about what HT means and why I would like it so much.
Sure. Well, look, we do a raft of different lenses, but the HT lens in particular is what we call our high transmission lens. So it's actually meant for low light conditions. So early mornings, late afternoons. It's a really nice lens for people who are getting out on the water all day long, as well as those sort of low light conditions. So if you're bringing a boat in first thing in the morning or in the evening and you need to see the reef and see the sort of where you're coming in and where those spots are that you don't want to hit sandbanks or the reef, that lens is fantastic.
Tell us about. I had a bit of fear when I first wore them. I thought these are a great early morning, late afternoon lens. Am I going to damage my eyes if I wear them all day? Because I find myself wearing them all day. They give me such a good insight into the water. I don't want to take them off. Am I hurting my eyes by doing that?
No, look, definitely not. So all of our glasses are polarized, which instantly gives you that protection all day long. Depending on, doesn't matter what lens color you go for, it's going to give you that protection. And what you find a lot of the time with that HT lens in particular is people really do fall in love with it, and they might go to a darker lens and go, you know what, I actually prefer having that sort of versatility of being able to, walk under a tree and not have to take them off, or if you're driving as well, in and out of tunnels and shadows. It just gives you that option to kind of wear them all day and just forget they're even on.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. That's what happens when we're on the water. The other feedback I get from anglers is we carry this big sample pack of Mauis around. There are some there. You've probably been seeing some come on and off my face this whole interview. But, the sneaky anglers that we've sort of given a pair to, if they've lost their sunnies or they've forgotten their sunnies for the day, they always come back to the weigh-in at the end. I said, clean those things up because they might have to go on someone else's face. But they just love they love the experience of wearing them for the day. That's the thing for you guys. Getting them on faces is what it's all about. And for the ABT live viewers watching now, see us at the events. We have all of these frames here. Now, when you order your glasses, there's, I suppose, 3 different things you need to know. Is it you need to know what frame you like, a frame that sits your face. You need to know what sort of lens you like, and then you need to know what sort of mirror covering. Like these are like a blue mirror lens. The 3 pieces of information you need to know when you're ordering a set.
Yeah, look, in a nutshell, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, it really comes down to fit. If they don't fit, don't even go there. You need to make sure, depending on what you're using them for, that you have the right fit for your face. I mean, you can trust that every Maui Jim lens will give you that protection. So then you sort of step back from that and say, okay, well, what looks good on me and what looks good to look through as well. So all of that kind of goes into your head when you're going through that process. But when you go to any of our sort of stockists and retailers around the country, we have some fantastic training programs that we take them through. So you'll be getting the best advice, whether you walk into a BCF store or an independent fishing store around the country, or any optometrists as well. They'll be able to tell you, in detail what works for you and also take you through the range when you're in store.
Now, just quietly, at all of the briefings, the first tournament and ABT angler fishes for the year, they get this great little lens cleaning pack, which has some of the solvent and a 2 textured cleaning cloth with it, and even a little set of screwdrivers to do your own frame tightening and corrections. Those things are incredibly popular with the anglers. They're like, they get them, we give them to them, they're like, oh yeah, thanks. And they come back and they say, that's awesome. I can clean my glasses. I clean the sounder with it. It's like they always sort of want more after that. I think that's a very smart branding technique because I know I've got one in the car and one in the boat.
Well, that's it. And, the average Maui Jim consumer has between 3 to 5 pairs of Maui Jims. So we know that once you're in them, once you've tried them, once you've used them on the water, it's really very hard to go into something else. And I know that sounds like a bit of a sales thing, but the proof is really in the numbers that we see and the people that come back year after year and say, what have you got? What's new? What's new lenses? What's new sort of colors and frames? So we really do have that amazing brand loyalty, which is really how the brand has grown, to be basically the number 2 sunglass brand in the world.
Yeah. If people want to check out a pair of Mauis for themselves, what's your penetration in tackle stores? Like our live viewers are all tackle junkies. They're in tackle stores all the time. Do they have to go to a specialized optometrist or sunglass store to see them, or are they in some tackle stores?
So look, we're definitely in, tackle stores around the country. Also in a large range of BCF stores as well. So we've got independent as well as those bigger sort of franchise or corporate stores. If you're after prescription Maui Jims, which is a big part of the business that we do, that's when you would sort of go to your local optometrist, and they will have a range. You can jump on the Maui Jim website and go to the store locator, and that will tell you close to where you are, who stocks what. And they can take you through the process of getting all the benefits of a non-prescription Maui Jim lens in a prescription fully customized Maui Jim prescription lens. So your friend who doesn't need them versus you who may need them, or you're literally getting the same technology in those Maui Jim lenses.
And let me tell you that fishing, we are an aging competitor base. Fishing's a sport you can do we take competitors from the age of 16 up to, we've had guys in their 70s win events. So let me say that if you get some converts in fishing and you have them for life, they will be going for those prescription lenses coming down the track, because we all don't have perfect 20/20 eyesight the whole way through. You mentioned the website. What is the website? Can you just Google it?
Yeah, look, it's www.mauijim.com. And within that, that's got all of our latest lenses, technology, store locator, repair information. Everything you can think of is on that website. So it's a nice starting point to jump on there to have a look. You can actually purchase direct off the website as well. Or if you'd like to try them on, you can head down to your local tackle store or optometrist and try a pair on for yourself.
Well, I've been trying on plenty of pairs during this story, mate. Every single one of them's comfortable, although I think I sort of look like Trinity in the Matrix with this pair here, so I'm going to give that one a miss. The frames are light and comfortable. We really appreciate Maui Jim stepping up to be an ABT sponsor. You will see that the competitors increasingly support your product. The guys all love them on the water, so thank you for supporting us. And we hope to see you maybe at the next event, which is the Maui Jim event at Lake Macquarie next month. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And look, we appreciate everything you guys do for us as well. So it's a fantastic team effort.
Thank you very much. We'll see you at Lake Mac.
Thanks, Steve.
Nice sunnies.
Yes, I did give the test box a bit of the rev, I suppose, during that thing. Rob didn't even break stride, though. He's probably seen plenty of guys in sunnies.
He twitched a bit when he had the girl pair on.
Yeah. But we have this box of sample Maui Jims at each of the events. Make sure at the briefing you come up and throw a few pairs on your face. Like I've tried most of them on in that last segment there, but you find that some of the frames fit particular face sizes, and if you don't want to make the effort to go and check them out at a tackle shop, at least check them out at a briefing, because you might find the pair that you put on your face and you go, wow, that's amazing. Take the opportunity to do it. We take them to all the events, and they're there at the briefings.
Yeah, so these ones that they've sent us are their most popular styles, so that's what we've got to play with. And non-boaters at both the BREAM and BASS rounds can win a pair as well.
That's right, we give some away, and I was just saying, this has got the HT lens in it, this one. Like the colour, it makes it better than life. Back when we used to do slide film in the magazines, there was a film called Fuji Velvia. And when you developed it, the colours always look better than they did in real life. This is like Velvia on your eyes, because I'm putting that on, looking at that BASS Pro Series winners check there, and it's like better with the glasses on, even at night time. So that HT lens, remember that, HT, definitely worth a look. So before we jump to the next segment...
I think a shout out to Dane Price.
Oh, yeah.
On YouTube, so Facebook guys wouldn't have seen that. Dane Price just let out of the bag that when he got his first little kit of Maui Jim cleaning solution, he thought it was hand sanitizer and used it for a good year before he worked out it was for his glasses.
Well, it's pretty alcohol-based. It probably kills a few germs, you know. Look, before we go to the next segment, which is about Somerset Dam and the Rapala round of the 13 Fishing BASS Pro Series, I want a bit of a shout out to the South Burnett Council and Matthew Mott. We had a situation where we'd sort of locked in a tournament for Boondooma this weekend. Then the council decided that that was the weekend that they wanted to run their tournament at Lake Boondooma. Strange for us to be more organised than the public servants, but hey, Motty got in there, we sorted it all out, they moved to BP, so this weekend we've got like the Pro Tournament on Lake Boondooma, they've got the Family Fishing Festival of the Dams tournament at Bajilki-Peterson Dam, so no matter what fishing tournament you want to go in, South Burnett has got it for you this weekend, and it looks like the weather's coming good. Big storms here and rain today, but man, the next week it is looking mint.
If not a little bit chilly on the weekend.
Yeah, it might be, although I think the forecast might be 3 degrees for one of the mornings. Ooh, I'll definitely have my Buck and Bass Oroville on and
I'm
the Ugg
expecting
boots.
lots of Uggies.
Ugg
Uggies
boots.
and shorts.
Yeah, definitely. So let's cross now to Mitch. He holds that office together out the back here at Rapala. You got the highfalutin Timmy Morgans and Matt Osleys and Mick Horns out there whacking the fish. Mitch is the one dealing with the warranty claims, answering the phone and sorting out all the stuff that those flash guys don't want to do. So big shout out to Mitch, and he will be at those next 2 events, flying the flag for Rapala and 13 Fishing. Let's see what he's got to say about the baits he's going to use at Somerset Dam. Righto, we have here who I think is Rapala staff's best bass fisherman, Mitch Petty. Mitch, look, we had this discussion after we came back from the Rapala Australian Open down to the Clarence, and both the office boys did do that good. It was like, Mitchy, if you were there, you would have smashed it.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, it sounds like it was pretty tough for the boys down there.
We have the 4th round of the 13 fishing BASS Pro Series happening at Somerset, and it is the Rapala naming event. So it's only worth sharing, I suppose, the sponsor Karma with these guys to let them know what baits they might need to get and tie on if they want to do good in that event. Now, I believe Invented statistically can prove the sponsor Karma thing. Tied on one of these shad Rapalites at the Open and caught them. So I noticed you've got them here in the kit for Somerset, mate. Because last year at Somerset, when we did the Australian Open, it was a real crankbait bite. It was
very much so, and actually that is the lure right there that got Big Bass 52 forker.
See, I knew we could weave that in the first couple of minutes, mate. You got the Big Bass, and it was a stonker, mate. Over 2.5 kilos, and just a giant.
Oh, absolutely, and to get on edges as well too is just like, because Somerset's renowned for that deep water bite. So to get a big bass like that on edges was just absolutely insane, and also too, but that seemed to be all over the dam as well too. It was all edge predominant fishing. So
now that was sort of at the end of winter. This one is at the beginning of winter. Let's just put this event into context. It's a double header up here in Queensland. We go to Boondooma first this weekend. It's the Nomad round of the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. And then when we finish that event, banks. Next day after day 2 of that event is the pre-fish day for Somerset.
Yep.
And we go into a midweek event at Somerset. How good is it fishing Somerset midweek as opposed to Water Ski Central weekend?
Oh, there's no comparison. I was so excited when I found out it was going to be a Tuesday, Wednesday event. I was like, you beauty, you don't have to worry about skiers and jet skiers and everything like that anymore, which was awesome.
Yeah, because when you're social fishing, it's always good to social fish tournament fishing makes the fish bite a little bit better. But that midweek fishing, the lakes are a bit quieter. It's like the fish have got attuned to feeding during the week.
Most definitely. Everyone that you hear that fishes during the week always smashes, and then on the weekends it's like slows up a lot more. So really, really excited for next week.
Yeah. Sure. So you're a bit of a local. You do some pre-fishing up there. It's sort of like your home dams, the Somerset and Wivenhoe.
Yep.
Give us a bit of a preliminary report on how it has been fishing for the last few weeks, coming up into the pre-fish man.
Yeah, so it's actually been fishing a little bit sort of tough. It's sort of starting to get into that sort of transition sort of stage now where it's sort of getting that colder sort of weather. We've had that bit of rain and stuff like that. So I feel like those fish are going to start pushing up a bit shallower compared to what it's been in summer. But in saying that too, there's still some schools getting around in Somerset as well too, which has been really good. But yeah, I reckon not obviously having that pre-fish ban the last 2 weeks, I think that's changed so much in that period of time, and I feel like that's where shallow fish are going to probably start coming into play.
And we all loved the shallow bite last year. It was the crankbait bite on the edges. Sometimes in years gone past, it was spinnerbait bites around the edges. Some guys a bit of a jerkbait bite. Yep. So just broadly in Somerset, in summer, the fish go deep because they don't like that warm water up on top.
Yep.
Then as that water cools, the fish are comfortable in that sort of high teens degree water. They will come all the way up to the edges to feed and move shallower in the water column. Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much. And obviously in summer, thermocline's quite prolific in summer as well too. So those fish tend to sort of sit around that sort of level down in that as well too. And if the thermocline's in about sort of 6 metres of water, you'll find fish either 6 metres of water like as in bottom wise, or you'll see them suspended in 6 metres of water as well too. And like you said, as it gets colder, that thermocline starts to like lift and stuff like that, and then sort of disperses, and that's where it allows those fish to come up shallow. And like you said, water temp is a massive thing as well too. It allows those fish to go up, and they don't want to be up there when it's like 30, 40 degree heat.
Yep.
It'll just cook them. So yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to that winter. They'll be pushing up and they'll be chasing, gudgeons and bonies and stuff like that as well, shrimp and red claw.
So you're a Rapala angler, you work for Rapala, and you've got yourself together a kit here that you would obviously be tying on when 100%. It comes to the pre-fish day of that event, and you're going to try to work out where the fish are going to be. So I know ABT is who shares wins. Share with all your fellow competitors and the people watching what you're going to have tied on.
Yeah, most definitely. So obviously I'm gonna look. Pre-fish day will be a massive thing for me to see if there's a lot of school fish around, deep water fish. If there is deep water fish, straight away be the DT20. Absolute confidence bait of mine. I know that like if you find those fish in between that sort of 20-25 foot of water, DT20s will get down to them, and it just makes those bass react a lot better too in the schools like that. You can long line casting them. Like I said, casting gets down to 20 foot, which predominantly I don't think the fish that I've seen the last couple of weeks
have been
about 4 or 5 metres of water.
Yeah.
So that's been working really, really well.
So you could probably hurt yourself by long lining one of those by going too deep. Is that the case? If they want to sit on the thermocline and the thermocline's still there, if you get that down 40 feet, are you going under the fish?
If you found suspended fish, most definitely 100%, you will probably go underneath those fish and those fish won't drop down. But mostly, like if you're fishing a flat in about 5 metres, it's just going to dredge. It's just going to dredge bottom. And I know personally, it needs to be dredging bottom. You want those fish to be reacting. You want that mud stirring up behind them, and it just draws that reaction from them. So, like I said, if you are in 4 or 5 metres of water, DT20 doesn't matter. It's
cool.
Down.
So you're going to have a couple of those tied on. You've already talked a little bit about the baby brother. Tell us about the DT8, because great little buoyant crankbait.
Yeah, 100%. The DT8, obviously, DT stands for Dives 2.8, as we've talked about in the past. And the beauty about it, they are balsa construction, so they're quite buoyant. So the beauty that I love about having a balsa constructed lure is the fact that you can roll it through like hard cover, like timber, rock, and everything like that. And if it does get lodged, instead of ripping it and going to town on it, just stop and let that lure, because you'll find, because that bib will go into something and then it'll find it'll back its way out, and predominantly, most of the time, not all the time, like sometimes situations it'll just get lodged in, but most of the time, if you're steady enough in it, you can feel your way going in that structure. Oh, hang on, stop, and she's just like, whoop, and then go again. And that's why balsa lures to me are such an ultimate crankbait to have while fishing for bass.
And of course, when it's about to hit a tree and then backs up, when's it going to get hit? When it's about to hit the tree, isn't it? Like you're stopping in exactly the right zone for that reversing to get it out of the snag and to trigger a bite. How deep was the water you caught that 52 in?
That would have only been in about maybe 4 foot of water. Actually, come over a log, so there was a tree actually that had fallen down in the water, and it was just on a bit of a rocky bank, and that tree was over, and the tree just cast it out, probably about not even 10. Sort of 15 cranks, and it was just like does, and I felt it actually go dunk, and then bang, that's when she come up and hit it. So like we just talked about before, that reaction of hitting that structure got her to just commit to it.
So there you go. DT8, another one that you're going to want to have in your Somerset box. I'm assuming a nice little collection here.
100%, yeah, for sure.
Now, while we're on the crankbait things, we've got the Rapala, the Shad Rapala. You've got the big and the small versions. Is the 75 and a 55?
Yes,
I'm familiar with the 55 now, but take us through these two little weapons. There's the small and the big one. The big one's been out for about a year now, I suppose. And the 55 is new, and I think you've sold out a lot of those colours.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. It's been an absolute crack and selling. I think we actually sold out of Bone Crawl, the one that you won the Open on.
Nice. So tell us, where would you be throwing these fellas?
So probably a similar areas to the DT8s. You'll find the DT8s having, you can see like the bib has got quite a wide triangular bib, whereas the Shad Rap Elites is quite more narrow. Yeah. So you're getting more of a...
It's like a long square bill on it, isn't it?
Exactly. So you're getting more of a shimmy action. Obviously that flat-sided as well too. So, and that's whereas the DT's got a bit more of a rounder sort of body. So it's just more or less that similar sort of area you'll be fishing, but just the swimming action's changing. And that's what I wanted to have both of those baits tied on.
Yep.
So just in case they might be honed in on a bit more of a tighter sort of action, or they might want a wider wobbling sort of action.
And
with the DT8s.
They'll both get down to a similar sort of depth. These, I know they don't go really deep. These lures, they're sort of like that sort of 0 to 5 foot mark that these guys work in. And if they're on smaller bait fish or bigger bait fish, you can maybe grab a presentation which matches what Somerset's got for you.
Yep, without a doubt.
Well, adding those to the collection as well, mate. Hand those things over. Let's talk. You've got some jerk baits there. Is it going to be cool enough for the jerk bait bite to happen?
Possibly. I feel like the water temp when I was out there was about 21 degrees, so it's not fun. And that was before we had that really cold snap a few days ago, and all this rain that we've had as well too. So I think if it gets underneath that 20 degrees, sort of 18, 20 degrees, I definitely think the jerkbait should come into play.
You've got two sorts here. You've got, is this one of the ripstop
minnows? It is one of the ripstop 9, that one.
And you've also got are they the little X-Wraps?
I do. I got the X-Wrap 08, and then I got the X-Wrap 06, which is Mr. Langford's favourite jerkbait, the X-Wrap 06, and he uses it a lot down at, he won actually St. Clair in Glenbourne down there last year. So
now, if you've fished a few opens in the past, I guarantee we've got these in the kit. So everyone that's done an open before should have a ripstop sitting there. What's your favourite of those two? I know Matty Langford likes the X-Wraps, but geez, I love the colours of the ripstops.
Oh, ripstop, yeah, probably ripstop would probably be my favourite out of all of them. Just with that little boot tail you can see on the back of it there. You know, ripstop meaning rip stop. So when you jerk that bait and stop, instead of a lot of other jerk baits, it slowly sort of drifts away. Having that boot tail on the end of it, it literally stops it in its tracks. So if there's a fish honing in on it and you jerk it and it's coming up behind it, It's like stops straight away, so they either just go bunch or
Run
go
in
straight
with
in
the mouth open.
100%, exactly, and that's what I love about it. It's the same thing. It draws that reaction again, and it's a lot different compared to other jerkbaits as well too that they're used to.
Now, I love fishing all these ones, but I am no expert at blades or the bladed jigs. Run me through what I need to know, because if I'm gonna have to throw them to catch fish, I'm gonna throw them.
Yeah.
So you've got some of the little Gamoku blades here. Tell us how you'd fish the blade there.
So
Somerset.
the beauty about the ultra blades is like being a blade, they're so versatile. You can fish it in so many different applications. I know a lot of guys like to just fish them vertically, finding fish below you by the boat, where you'd be up in the timber, or if you're out in the flats in the schools and that. Just a matter of dropping it straight down and then a couple of sharp sort of hops, and that's actually how Mark Lennox won it back in 2018.
Oh, you've been doing your research.
I have been. Well, I actually fished with Mark Lennox on the Sunday on the last session, so it was an eye opener to actually see how he was doing it and sort of seeing how it all works, what he used to look for, and stuff like that. And he only just had down imaging on his Lowrance unit. So now that we've all got Panoptics, and I know you're quite renowned for the Panoptics, so it's going to make it so easy to be able to look for those fish and literally just drop it straight on their head and get them to react to it.
I'll tell you a bit more history. Johnny Brider, back in about 2013-ish, went on a ZX blade doing a very similar thing. Probably more casting to the bank, but when the water was really dirty. Johnny Brider, I think, the oldest competitor to ever won to win an ABT BASS Pro Series from the front of the boat. So he was well in his 70s, and he's still kicking along well, Johnny.
Wow.
We might see him for the Somerset event. You don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Still, I know he fixed some stuff up in the boat before. He only lives just down the road here from the ABT office, and he can catch him when he's on them. And that blade pattern was what got Johnny across the line as well. So I'm going to need a few of these. They're going to need more guys.
Yeah, and obviously too vertically, but like you just said, casting as well too. Casting them out on edges and then hopping them down, or on a school, on a flat, or a ledge.
Popping a bit of point.
Hop, or a bit of a burning kill, and this, or just a slow roll as well too. That's what I love the blades. I'll definitely be having a blade tied on both Boon Doomba and Somerset.
Yep. Now, here's something that everybody got at the Rapala Bass Australian Open, but I don't know how many people used it, because sometimes when you get a new bait, it's sort of hard to get the confidence to tie it on. But I tell you what, a lot of people are using the chatterbait style lures at the moment, and these Rapala bladed jigs were in everyone's pack. Tell us what we got here. You got different weights.
Yeah, so we got the Rapala Rap V bladed jigs. So they come in 3 different sizes. So you've got your 21 grams, you've got your 15 grams that you've got in your hand, and then we've got a 10 gram as well too. So obviously different depths of water column will determine, sort of what grams lure you're going to be chasing. So if you're going to be chasing those deep bass and around that 5-6 meters, what we just discussed before, this is where your 21 gram would come into play, having that heavier head.
That's a giant, that one.
That's probably my favourite, and that's one that I reckon will absolutely slay them there in the schools. Obviously, we're getting into a bit winter, so we're sort of losing that reaction bite a little bit, but I still think there still will be the odd occasion, if we do get a bit of a warm day and stuff, that a spinnerbait or a chatterbait will sort of come into play, like a Rapala chatterbait.
Now, these are definitely set up to put a trailer on.
Yep.
Again, I'm not up to speed with whether you do use trailer. What would you put on the back of that? Would you put like a slider grub, a paddle tail, a curl tail, a gulp? What do you spice it up with?
Yeah, so you can definitely do like a paddle tail, like a 3-4 inch sort of paddle tail on it. With the action of it, because the chatterbait's got its own action, it's sort of sometimes it can actually interfere with a paddle tail. So that's why I've actually been running your jerkbait minnow plastics on them, and because it's actually flicking the tail on side to side, it's creating the action itself. So it actually works really, really well. But yeah, paddle tail on that as well too. If you slow roll it as well too, it doesn't go like ballistic and ruin the action of a plastic. But yeah, I reckon a 3-4 inch plastic, whether it be a minnow jerkbait style or a paddle tail, will work perfect, like a slider or any of those other paddle tails on the market.
I don't know if any of the viewers have noticed, but this backing card for it has got this mean-looking fish on the front. That is exactly what's printed head-on the blade there. So if you don't like scary movies, don't keep that. Don't keep that thing. It looks pretty mean. I thought it was a bird, but I think it's like an angry toadfish.
Yeah, good aggression. And that's the thing as well too. Like all of them are all painted to suit the bay as well too, which is actually not a lot of them on the market like that as well too.
Blade, head, skirt, all matching colour. So no customisation needed. Take it off the card, whack on whatever trailer you like, and away you go. Well,
100%.
Sounds like I need all 3 sizes of those as well. So I don't know what you're going to take to the event, mate, but I think I'm all set up for the Somerset Rapala round of the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. sponsor karma's all going to be coming my way with my things, mate. You better get it back in the warehouse there and dig yourself up something to use.
Oh, 100%, yeah, definitely. I'll be making sure I'm all kitted up with all our gear, and looking forward to it. It's going to crack an event, I reckon.
All I'm saying is, at the end of that event, Mitch is going to do the strut back into the office, look at Timmy, look at me, Corny. You boys have got nothing.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. Thanks for joining us, mate, and we'll catch everyone up at these 2 bass rounds. And just as an end for that story, Mitch did get all of his lures back. I didn't nick them all. He's a big boy, needs his lures, and he's taken them.
Them all.
I didn't nick them all. I did go into their office this afternoon and went through their staff selection of 13 fishing rods because I love a nice selection of some of their prototypes. I do borrow them each event. I sort of pick the techniques I want to use and then go get the rods to match. So big thank you to 13 Fishing. They helped me with the sponsor karma thing. Nomad as well this weekend, hey?
On a side note, so you ride the sponsor karma train, you practice what you preach. You made ABT history in the last month. You're the first angler to win both a Bass and a Brim Open full stop, but then you did it within 2 weeks. Has that sunk in for you yet?
Sometimes I think, that was pretty cool. Mainly it sinks in when I'm sitting in Timmy's office. I took the 2 checks for a bit of a tour the other day. Saw him sitting on the desk. I'm trying to work out a way to stick him up on the wall. So I took him into Tim's desk. I put him on the couch. I sat down and go, check that action out. And it's that was the bragging rights that I really liked. Look, I think that we don't have too much overlap between guys that fish bass and brim. I do it, Chris Hickson does it, Peter Phelps does it. And
Tom Slater.
Tom Slater does it. So, and all of those guys have done really well. Phelpsy has actually won a Bass Open. Chris Hickson came in the top 5 in the Clarence Bass Open this year, and became 3rd in the Brim Open.
And he's won the Brim Open.
And he's won it before.
Twice before.
That's right. So, like a lot of ABT stuff, it's on the verge of happening all the time. For instance, no one's won an ABT Brim Grand Final twice in 23, 24 years. And every year we think, we've got 6 guys in there that could do it. It just hasn't happened yet. So the answer is yes, it was pretty cool. I had a pretty ordinary start to the year. You didn't notice my name on any of those AOY tables. So just because you have a couple of ordinary tournaments doesn't mean that your time isn't coming. So that's, if there's anything to learn from it, just because you did bad in the last event doesn't mean you're going to go bad in the next event. You never know when it's going to be your day. Now, we've got a few people here. It's going to be their day today. Big win.
Speaking of winners.
Go through them, Nicole. The first one we got is the Atomic Pack there. It was off YouTube. What was the answer to that question?
So where is Tommy Wood fishing this weekend in his next Open? Fishing on the back of the boat. That was Lake Wheeler in Alabama.
And I reckon if you didn't know it, you probably picked it up pretty quick from the answers.
Yeah, if you're on the ball. So Aussie Sim watching on YouTube. We've got a prize pack coming your way.
So Aussie Sim, you need to send us a message on Facebook. Probably is the best way. On Facebook Messenger, message to the ABT page. Get us your address. We'll drop this in the mail before we go on the Bass Tour a little bit later. So that's the first one. The second one is the Where Are You From prize. Even though we had entry before we announced it, we didn't discriminate. Anyone could have won it. Who won that? It was a Facebook one, I see.
Yep, so Dale Follett watching from Goodna tonight. This one's coming your way.
And I hope, Dale, you're a medium-sized shirt, or you know someone that can wear a medium-sized shirt because it's in there. We don't do exchanges. Sorry. Cool. Nicole, thank you very much for helping with the hosting. I reckon if I play my cards right, I can get you to do more and more of it, and I can just sort of slink out the side and I can push the buttons. It's like 3 or 4 buttons you push on that. It's done, isn't it?
Simple.
I appreciate that. And look, everyone, on the comments there, if you appreciate the work that Nicole did in those mid-session updates, let her know there, because it's a lot of work putting it together. It stresses her out the tournament day, but I love watching them. I sat down on the weekend, actually, and I watched all of the mid-session updates. And, of course, we have a couple of little technical issues, but on the whole, people love watching that stuff. I love watching it on Bassmaster, and now I love watching it on ABT. So thank you very much for doing what you do.
It was cool. Shout-outs to Matt Osley from Rapala, to Andrew Death down in Sydney. They were great to have co-hosting.
Yep.
Saves me from having to learn all the technical fishing talk.
That's right. We get the technician there and the fishing technical person there mixing together. It's a good formula. So if you love it, put the comments down there. To take you out, we always have a segment called the Room Clearer. This is a pretty long show tonight. We were thinking of how we were going to pad it out, but it ended up being very technical and very long. We lent Bo Everly, who helps us run the Mercury Avatar Bass Electric series, a Mercury Avatar motor to put on his Alloy Craft Bass Electric boat, and he fished the Rapala Bass Australian Open in an electric boat, and he beat 2/3 of the big boys.
And that boat too, that Bo fishes out of, that is the prize.
The prize.
So
well, it's
that boat with the electric Avatar electric on the back.
On a trailer. So you basically, if you win the Bass Electric Grand Final, you're going to win this boat that he was in. Let's have a watch while we clean up for the night, get ready to go home. What Bo thought of his Mercury Avatar.
See you all from Boondooma.
Hey guys, my name's Bo Everly and I'm from Grafton in New South Wales. The ABT Australian Bass Open is here on my home river. As you can see, I've probably got the smallest boat in the field. I don't have one of the big bass boats that you see most of the boys do in ABT. I've got this little tinny and I am so excited to do the Open in it. I've got the Mercury Avatar. I was pretty lucky. I made some phone calls to ABT and they got on to Mercury and I was able to get one of the demo models that are in Australia to use for the weekend at the Open. The Mercury Avatar 7.5E. This is the equivalent to a 3.5 horsepower 4-stroke petrol engine. Okay, so if you're wondering, at full speed, this motor will go for an hour, which is pretty much the equivalent to what a 3.5 horsepower petrol will go with a 1 litre fuel tank on top. So the cool thing is with this electric motor is that if you run it at 50%, you will get 22 kilometers range out of that. So that's incredible out of a little electric motor. So how cool is this? Mercury gave me 3 batteries. That means 8 kilometers out of 1 battery at 9 kilometers an hour. Times that by 3, that's 24 kilometers. And around here where I am at Grafton, 5 k's from here, unbelievable bass fishing. So yeah, first impressions of this thing, I actually couldn't believe how big it was, but then picking it up, it is so light. So I was really impressed by that. One of the cool things that I found with it is that even with the big boys that have the 200 horsepower, the Avatar makes the same sound when you start it. Okay, so the batteries are nice and simple. So under here, you've got a little lever, you lift it up comes the lid, nice and easy. Thumb, switch, push up, battery slides straight out. Very simple. Go back in, sits in, slides in, clips, green lights turn on, lid closed, ready to go. So the big question is now, in this little boat, can I match the big boys? Wait and see on Sunday. And the big thing for this weekend, my fuel bill is going to be the cheapest out of all of them.
So, Bo, end of the first day of the Rapala Bass Australian Open, you fished in the smallest, slowest boat in the field, but the only one powered by the renewable energy, mate, and you were up on the leaderboard in the early days, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I had a really good flurry this morning. The Avatar got me straight to the spot nice and quickly. And yeah, we punched some fish out nice and quick and died off for us at the end, but look, tomorrow's a new day.
Tell us what were your feelings about the motor? You had 3 batteries out there. How many did you go through?
I went through 1.5 batteries today, which is a pretty good run. But yeah, no, I saw a top speed today of 12 kilometres in the little alloy craft, which is the fastest that thing's ever gone. So.
Is that with a bit of wind assistance and tide assistance?
No, the wind had stopped and the tide had stopped, so I thought, here's the chance to see what it actually can do.
So you're flying with that thing?
Yeah, no, I was over the moon with it, so yeah, look out for them on the market, guys, they're good.
Tell us, what's your other favourite feature about the Avatar then? Having spent the time in it now, you did have battery in reserve, so you can probably go a bit harder tomorrow, go full speed everywhere. Yeah. What's your favourite feature of the motor?
Just being able to lift it on and off. So
is that spigot mount, so you can lift the whole thing off your boat, leave the mount on?
Leave the mount on and take the motor off and store it away nice and safe. And yeah, it's just, and the motor's so light. Like they say it's light, but until you pick one up, yeah.
It might just be strong.
Oh, well, I don't think so. Look at these arms. They're not that big.
Well, good luck tomorrow, mate, and get that Avatar back on the water and catching some more bass.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Right, guys. We're back at a spot yesterday that was devastating. Dropped down on this tree, a little bank. There's just a tree in here that's washed in, and yesterday I dropped down straight on top of the tree. Hop, hop. Let's see if I can get some redemption today. Hey guys, I just had to do a battery change. I didn't realise it went out, and you wouldn't believe it, I've just hooked a cracker EP. Let's have a look at this boy. Look at that. Look at that. What a great EP. Let's see what he goes. Here's the fish I needed. He goes 36. I'll take that every day of the week. See you, buddy. Over the moon, to say the least. That motor will be bang for its buck. I was blown away. I averaged 9 kilometers an hour cruising through all day with it, and the first day I did 13 kilometers with 1.5 batteries, and today I did 15 kilometers. I charged the batteries up overnight and I went through 1.25 batteries. So yeah, I was pretty impressed. Yeah, so every day I got my fish really quickly. So I was up there. I didn't have to go far. I knew from previously that there'd been fish straight across on that wharf. It was just getting them to bite throughout the tide, and I was lucky enough I got the tide first up in the morning. I struggled for fish throughout the day, but first up in the morning it was pretty quickly with the fish. So with my other electric motor I would have struggled to get there, so the Avatar really played into part for this weekend. How responsive it is what got me from using other electric motors. With the turning, it turned my boat. If I wanted to go left, it went left straight away. With other electric motors, I find that you almost have to do a 20-meter circle to turn around. With the Avatar, it responds very well to direction. The torque is something that surprised me. When I first got into it, I thought I would just stand up like I would with my normal electric motor. I soon sat down very quickly, or I had to ease the speed on. There was no thumping it because you actually went back, and if you weren't prepared, you would have went overboard. So yeah, it does for a little motor, electric motor. It has some grunt behind it. So the little display unit that's on the Avatar is very bright. We went through 4 seasons in one day here at Grafton. We had bright light, we had stormy, raining, and every time I'd be standing at the front of the boat. I'd turn back to see how much power I've got left in it, and you could see it every time, rain, hail, or shine. So being the only electric boat in the field today, I came away with 13th place. So 13th out of 45 anglers in the only electric boat. Over the moon. All I really wanted to do this weekend in the Open was get my bag each day, and what happened happened. But to walk away with 13th place with the electric, first time using the Avatar, I couldn't be happier. I had people on land, and I even had people on water come up to me. I'd be cruising through. I had kayakers come up. I had an older couple that were out doing the Pertex fishing challenge come up, and they're like, "What are you using?" And I was like, "I'm using the brand new Mercury Avatar." I was I had a pretty big puffed out chest promoting it out to people. But yeah, no, people were really blown away, especially with what I was telling them about the distance that I was going, the speed I was going. Yeah, they were quite impressed with the stats that I got from my little boat.